Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 120 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me, the LoneVaultWanderer.
It's me, Karak, with ACG.
I just realized you're wearing like a little Nike shirt there. I like that.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to stop the entire podcast because I got to tell you guys something awesome. Keep it running.
Okay.
But I wanted to surprise you guys with something. So, you know, it's pretty rare that I think it's pretty rare that like YouTubers like one another. Not to be rude, but it's fucking pretty rare. And I don't really like Lone, but I certainly like Matty. And no, I'm just joking. I've never met Lone. But it's very rare. And, you know, we've talked about this before, you know, us meeting and talking about KOTOR and stuff like that and sort of starting to get to know each other and all the people that have been really cool that I've met through YouTube. And it's weird because I've had Matty on my channel, not Lone yet, but, you know, you have people on each other's channel, and this is the only other podcast I have time for, so I do somebody else's channel, which is very cool. And I decided what I was going to do is commemorate whatever anniversary this is. I'm sure we've known each other over a year. But
yeah, around this time, No Man's Sky was, I think, like our first...
It was.
It was.
So what I've decided to do is I commemorated this by hiring an artist. I want to make sure I get his name. His name's Vlad Momay. And I had him create what I hope is one of many comic book covers for the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
Oh my god!
No way!
Yeah. So it's Matty with his N64/PS4 whip controller from it's. I don't know why Lone has no balls as a kangaroo. It just dawned on me.
Yo, this is insane, dude.
And so I have it on Google Drive for Lone to get because I don't have his address, and then Matty, I've got it printed already for you, and I'll ship it to you physically. I can ship it to either one of you physically. Dude. I just don't know how you want to do it.
I'll give you my address in a second.
Yeah,
Holy
but
fuck, that's insane.
It's limited ultimate collector's edition. I tried to get limited, unlimited, unbelievable collector's edition, but the artist was like, dude, it won't fit.
Oh my god.
But
oh my god,
like,
that is insane.
All the bosses, like,
ladies and gentlemen, I can highlight now, this is not planned at all. This is incredible.
Oh no, no. It took me a while to get him to. Let's see if I can get it here. I'll do it this way.
That's insane, Karak.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so it's got.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to see there. It's got some. Oh, it's got the dude Nemesis. I think that's a Resident Evil guy.
Yes.
It's got me with a flamethrower. I have no clue why.
Oh my god,
so
I
awesome.
love it. I fucking love it.
What's this guy? What's the bad guy's name? Mario? Is that or is that just an evil Mario?
Oh, Waluigi.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And then a Fallout guy. So
sweet. That
episode
is
1.
Sweet.
Hopefully we have more episodes, but I just figured that that would be cool to commemorate something that's pretty rare in YouTube. At least for me, it's pretty rare. We don't usually. I think
thank you. That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, I'll give me your addresses at the end of the pod. You know,
no doubt.
And ship them to you.
While we're having this touching moment, yes, I reflect on our podcast often. Every Friday when we record this, it comes up on a Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, but we record on the Fridays, and I always look forward to it. It's like that I think Karak described it best a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, Matty, why do you have so much energy for the weekend? It's like I start my weekend in like the best imaginable way possible. I just have this awesome talk with two of the best guys in gaming. So it's like, it's a
blast. It's probably the best way to begin. Oh, I mean, people always ask that. Yeah, it's like, why are you guys all so happy? And it's like, dude, there's probably no better way to start a weekend than to fucking talk for 2 hours about video games.
Yeah,
with people who like to talk about them, versus my wife who's like, shut up,
leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about. I let you touch me because we're married. That's it.
Oh my
Never
God.
talk to me. Anyway, so so that was it. I just want to surprise you guys.
That's really thoughtful of you, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
no problem. Sorry.
We're gonna become that group of friends that tries to one up each other with our gifts constantly. Now, you've set the standard incredibly high, and now I have to
his and her cod
accumulate
pieces
tons
is what
of funds and try to figure this one out.
Exactly. No.
That's
so
sweet.
Continue. Sorry, just wanted to interrupt.
I'll make customized Christmas ornaments for you guys this holiday season and just put my fucking face on them. Unless you hang them on your tree, just a bunch of Christmas balls with my face on them.
That's fucking awesome.
Anyway, as per our normal intro, if you guys would like to consider supporting the podcast, be entered to be a potential guest on the show, then feel free to support the Patreon. The link is in the description down below. And now, let's dive into this week's really eventful gaming news. Where do we want to start here? Usually I have like a good idea of what I want to tackle first. I think let's go with Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition. Let's do that first. So it was announced. It's $60. We're getting all the DLC packs with it. It's coming with all the updates like survival mode, all the, and I say this in quotes, graphical enhancements. Basically,
HD texture pack.
Yeah, basically, if you own the base game of Fallout 4, updated at this point in time, and own the season pass, that is what you're getting as per any other Game of the Year edition. Alongside that, they also announced they're doing more of the Pip-Boy edition, and it's only for $100 now. So I know there were a lot of gamers out there who really, despite their thoughts on Fallout 4, really like the Pip-Boy edition. And that's if you haven't played Fallout 4, I mean, that's not a bad price. I spent $250 on mine. I don't know if it was $200 for the collector's edition and I paid like $50 for day one shipping, or if it was just $250 in general. I can't remember, but that's a pretty steep discount if you're looking for a nice piece of plastic to commemorate one of your favorite franchises. But yeah, so we got it. It's 2 years later. Why did it take so long is my initial question for you fine folks.
That's the only thing that confuses me. The only thing that I can think of is that for some reason if the next couple of months they want to coordinate a bunch of releases. That's the only thing that I can think of. But even then, I don't know why that makes sense. I have no idea.
One guess, and that's that they wanted to run the season pass for as long as they possibly could, getting all the sales they could. Because I remember, and I say this in my video that's coming out on it, that when you looked at, for example, even when there was a sale on the PlayStation Store, the season pass of Fallout 4 was never discounted. It's always been at $50. They've never knocked that down. But even if they knocked down the price of Fallout 4 to half price, it's still an insane amount of money to get the entire package. So what they're doing, I think, here is forcing consumers to say, do I want to spend, at this point in time, I think it's $30 for Fallout 4 on the store and then $50 for the season pass. Do I want to spend $80 and, see how it goes? Or do I want to just spend $60 and get it all at once? And I think that's what they're trying to do is they got as much of the sales as they could from the season pass. Now they're reinvigorating that interest potentially. And also because now they have like everything for the fall. You got Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, you got Fallout 4 again, and then you got Dishonored. So you got a little bit of everything throughout the next couple of months. So, and plus, I mean, they didn't have to do anything. It's not like they added any special features. It's just, which I don't expect the Game of the Year edition, but still. Karak, what do you think?
Also, as well, just really quickly, Creation Club, whenever that comes out, they're generating hype for that. But,
True. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, we talked about it prior to the podcast, but it's like Dead Island saying they're Game of the Year. And you're like, where are you Game of the Year? But they're all, no, it's Game of the Year edition. Okay, for you guys maybe, but for no one else. And I liked Fallout 4. In fact, I know Matty's replayed it some, and maybe you're a little less high on it. I still really pretty much enjoy Fallout 4. So, but to me, it's not Game of the Year, for Christ's sakes. It's just, it's typical PR packaging. Yeah. And it makes sense. I never thought about what you just said. It makes perfect resource and financial sense to get as much out of that pass as you can.
Yeah, I mean,
and then say, boom, here we go.
While we're talking about 2015 games of the year, a lot of people in response to this were like, well, Fallout 4 wasn't the game of the year. And fair enough. I think that game of the year has really turned into a PR statement and a really subjective thing where you got from 2015, I know for a fact that Rocket League and Bloodborne both had Game of the Year editions, and now you got Fallout 4 with the Game of the Year edition. So they're all saying, we were all Game of the Year. And they all won their respective Game of the Year awards from different outlets.
From someone.
Yeah, so then you are entitled in some way, shape, or form to say, we have a Game of the Year edition because we won Game of the Year here. Now, Fallout 4 did win a lot of the Game of the Year awards. I think it won 3, I'm pretty sure.
It won 3 from BAFTA, DICE Awards, and some Australian gaming news website.
And I think the biggest highlights there are DICE and BAFTA. Those are pretty big ones, especially when you're beating out, it's kind of surprising, but you're beating out The Witcher 3. But instead of getting into a Game of the Year discussion on Fallout 4, whether or not it's worthy of that, because I think it's beating a dead horse, what would, if we're looking back on 2015, what would you say out of all the games is really your Game of the Year?
See,
I know it's hard to just pull out of your ass. I know.
No,
yeah,
but
I don't even know the games then.
2015 was a shitty year for me playing games because Matty, you and I know that we were doing so much Fallout 4 shit.
True.
leading up to the game's release, and then we just played that. So I really didn't play anything, and let alone any of the games that can be considered to be Game of the Year worthy. But just looking objectively, you'd have to say that the game that got most of the Game of the Year awards was Witcher 3. Yeah. Then it's probably either Metal Gear Solid or Bloodborne second.
MGS came out that year too.
I saw Splatoon got some Game of the Years as well. I mean, Super Mario Maker maybe. I'm just looking at the list now. But yeah, even if I had played all those games, just looking at it from a third-person perspective, you'd have to say it's not Fallout 4.
If I were to pick again... I'm really stable with my Game of the Year choices, but like I've said this before, I don't really think my initial picks of Game of the Years were as accurate as I intended down the line. If I were to re-choose, I'd go with Bloodborne. I fucking love that game. I played that shit so much. But yeah, I mean, with the Game of the Year discussion going, what really makes a Game of the Year? You know, what parts of the package really make it to be that Game of the Year? And my fucking garage door is opening, so I'm gonna mute my mic. You guys take the conversation away.
You want to? I think for everybody it's different, but for me personally, it's not only the experience, but it's also at the end of the year. That's why when people ask me prior, they'll be like, "Hey, it's February. What's your Game of the Year for 2017?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, February. It makes no sense." Yeah. So I like to wait and sort of percolate things, and then sometimes replay games that I think might be high on my list. But for me, it's just games that it's the same way I review titles. Number one, are they a good reflection of the genre in some way that they're aiming for? Like, do they hit the things that you would expect? And then number two, just are they a good game? Are they fun? And what makes them fun? And what makes them resonate? I'm much more of a memory person. Like, do I hold a memory of that game? And I can say that I don't think I've ever chosen a Game of the Year and then later said, because to me, by the time I get to that point, I'm like, this is definitely... It just works for me. And and for example, like Oxenfree won last year for me. Yeah. And it won because I don't remember a game other than Life is Strange and a couple others that have sat with me for such an extended period of time. Yeah. And to me, that is of the year. Does that make sense? Yeah, as in, if you play it in January, in March and April, and you're still sort of thinking about it, or it comes up, that's a Game of the Year to me, or at least should be in the conversation.
I completely agree. I'm in the same exact boat. I think of Persona and Nier instantly.
Yeah, Persona.
I think
Nier. Yeah, both those.
Hellblade, I think that's going to be a game that's going to sit with me well, because that, we'll talk about that later, but that's a game that really did something special in a way where it was only a story that could be told, in my opinion, through a video game. And I think it really just highlighted the power of the medium itself. But yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, if a game sits with me well, if I'm like just spitting facts about the game, I know that it really had me engaged on some level, unlike other games where they just go right out the ear, and you just forget about it. So interesting.
Lone didn't answer. What was yours?
All right, so I think if we're giving examples of games from this year, it's probably going to be Legend of Zelda, unless something is really, really good that pushes it out of the way. For me,
maybe if you took Rachel's advice and played Nier.
I'm trying. You know what I'm doing now? Just as a quick side topic, I'm about to finish Dishonored 2. I'm about to play Evil Within. I've finished Wolfenstein this year. Like, I'm getting ready for releases later this year. Yeah, exactly. But in terms of what makes my Game of the Year, it's hard to pin down. I think, undoubtedly, for me personally, you need a really, really good story, because at the end of the day, like, you can play a game and 2 years later you might not remember a fucking thing about the gameplay or some of the small minor things, but the thing that always sticks in my mind when I play a great game is a story. Like, for instance, I'll give an example now. I said last week I'm playing Shovel Knight. Fucking fun game. It's so much fun. But in 3 years, I don't know how much I'm going to remember Shovel Knight. Like, I don't know how much I remember games that are purely fun on the gameplay level. Like Overwatch. Overwatch is a fucking fantastic game and was many people's games of the year last year, right? But I play Overwatch and I'm just like, yeah, it's fun, but it doesn't resonate with me because I don't have that, memory of the story, simmer in my mind. But here's an interesting thing. Breath of the Wild didn't really have a good story. It was more the
I was gonna
immersion
say.
factor and the environmental, exploration. So it's hard to pin down. I can't honestly say. Like sometimes a game will just hit, fire all cylinders and just hit all the right buttons for you, and it just works. But I would still say at the end of the day, it needs to be good in gameplay. It needs to be good in character development, all those kinds of things. But if a game has a phenomenal story, that's usually going to be the deciding factor for me.
Yeah, I see what you say. But yeah, I guess it's really just a case-by-case thing, right?
It is.
Some games, the gameplay will stick with you. Some games, the story will stick with you. Like, I look at, this was in 2013, I think, DMC Devil May Cry. I think they kind of tried to tell a story with that game. I don't know if it was necessarily impactful for a lot of gamers. I don't think it really was. I think the idea of what they had in the story was really cool. But, what really stuck with me was the combat. And funny enough, the same people who made that also made Hellblade. But I mean, the combat in DMC Devil May Cry, I've always said that's probably one of the best action games I'll ever play because of the angel and the devil and being able to pull yourself in or pull an enemy to you, and then how you're gonna attack them up close, whether it's with your sword, your guns. There was just so many options available to you, and that's what really stuck with me throughout that entire experience, less than the story itself. Where I think Devil May Cry 1 through 4 started to build itself really on its characters, like Dante and Virgil. So
I think also, just real quick, because I know we have a lot, but I think also when you look at it, one of the reasons why Game of the Year has subtly changed is, and some of the IGN guys, GameSpot, diehard game fan has actually talked about this, but what's happened is in the past, video game reviewers didn't really know how to review a title. So what they did was they usually reviewed it in a board game fashion, and that's the mechanics, the make, the graphics, sound, music.
Yeah.
But they really didn't understand the fun. You didn't see a lot of people, except for Diehard Game Fan and a couple others, talk about fun. You didn't. You almost never saw that. So a game that was clinically good but wasn't necessarily super fun could win. And I think now with all these gamers running their own YouTube channels and all of these different things, a Game of the Year changes depending on the focus, not only of like the game itself and what it was trying to do, but also the delivery. Because back in the day in IGN magazine and GameSpot or GameStop, I'd be like, they're probably going to rate the same overall game. But now I have to look at the user and go, what do they like? Because, for example, what Lone is talking about would not work for me as a it can't have, or most of the time it won't have just good gameplay. It has to have a great story. I don't necessarily fully do that myself, but I think it's because the stuff I like, you can see. The stuff Matty likes, you can see. The stuff Lone likes, you can see. And so it's changed, man. It used to be so easy I've even talked to them, and they're like, we used to be able to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just rate it. And now things are very gray. Like,
and now when you listen to an IGN or whatever, and they try and do their end of the year Game of the Year awards, they fucking have like
it's
this
a mess.
UN forum of every writer there voting for their Game of the Year.
Diplomats and shit. Okay.
They rank their games, and each person's giving a different weighting because they've been there for more years than other people. Like, I'm joking, but that's how complex it's become.
I think it also comes down to patience. For me, I've learned with myself that I'll finish a game, in my own time now. I wouldn't say I'd rush reviews ever, but like some games, like they'd set the embargo day. I'd be like, all right, gotta get it done, But I've realized I'm able to critique better. I'm able to digest the experience afterwards better when I take it at my own pace. And when I finish it, I don't go like, all right, gonna go script the review. I go, okay, let's think about that for a sec. Let's just, write down some bullet points on what's going through my head and just kind of go through a little process instead. And I think a lot of YouTubers, especially ones that want to be up and coming, they'll get a review code. They'll be like, oh, yes, like I got early access. This is opportunity. I'm going to try to capitalize on that opportunity. I got to be the first one out there. And, some people will say, like, once again, we're going to bring up Hellblade. Fuck my garage door again. We're going to bring up Hellblade again as a great example of a title that went from, like, people are saying it's 8 hours long, 6 hours long, 12, 20 I've seen. We see people saying the combat's great, combat's okay. We're seeing so many different opinions, and that's because of, reviewers are rushing the review itself. You can clearly tell the difference between a review of someone who hasn't played it and someone who has played it through. And I think that just highlights what's wrong with the what?
Permadeath.
Yeah. That too. I forgot about that.
Is that a thing though? Is he bluffing?
No,
And
and there's a reason why I didn't mention it in my review at all.
Oh my God,
At me was like, you got to play the game because the people who are talking about it is proof. I'm not going to go out and attack because they've attacked me. I've had Forbes attack me and be like, you shouldn't trust his Prey review. And it's like, dude, I got Prey 5 days before you. Fuck off.
Yeah.
But
holy shit.
what I did tell people is that you got to watch out because if you look at what they're saying, you can tell they didn't beat it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And
you can tell
we won't name names, but you really have to suck at the game to die a lot. Let's just say that way.
Dude,
I died 3 times. Once is because I didn't know what was going on. Once is because it was intentional. And the third time I ran into fucking fire thinking it was an exit. You know, that's it. And like, you just, like I said, you have to be really bad. So I don't know how these reviewers were emphasizing this permadeath thing. It added tension to the combat. I'm like, motherfucker, what? But anyway, yeah, what I was highlighting there is, like, Hellblade's a perfect example of what happens when you rush reviews. Now you have this confusing discussion on the game where we're seeing some rave reviews that probably won't be brought up at the end of the year. And maybe vice versa. We might see some reviews that, we didn't praise the game all that much, then why the fuck is it in your Game of the Year discussion, right? So it's like, it just throws an imbalance into it all. Whatever. Not my problem. Really. All right. Let's talk about, what else do we got going on here? Let's talk about Gearbox a little bit. They announced Project 1v1. This was a game that came out of nowhere. They sent it, I think they announced it through a fucking email. And no trailer or anything.
Website too,
and a website, right. It's as the project name suggests, 1v1 game. It's a fast-paced first-person shooter with a tied-in card game. And I'm guessing the card game's there for strategy as well as microtransactions, let's be honest. And so you have this beta that's coming out this summer, or a technical test, they're calling it, rather. It's going to be, there's an arena mode, there's going to be ranked matches, and there's going to be a way to challenge your friends. And what I was kind of getting vibes from, just from the brief description of it, was kind of Phantom Dust, like that 1v1 combat that can be kind of tactical, but, you know, fast-paced as well. So there's potential there, but the biggest takeaway from this was, and Lone, I really loved your video on this, was that it wasn't Borderlands 3. And so if you'd like to spit your hot take again, feel free.
Well, like, it always happens. I mean, whenever Gearbox now talks about any other game aside from Borderlands, people are like, what the fuck, Gearbox? Give me Borderlands 3. And they get really invested and emotional about it. And I'm just like, guys, like, Gearbox is a fucking, 350 strong plus studio.
Said, at least.
They have they're not like the biggest studio in the world, but they still have a relatively large studio. You don't need everyone there to be working on Borderlands 3. And Randy Pitchford has said, whether you like him or not, he said that most of the staff there are working on Borderlands 3. And it's probably, like, you know, looking at Gearbox's past release schedule, it's probably going to be announced and have some sort of big showing at E3 of this year. All of this really comes from is people's distaste of Battleborn and thinking that Gearbox working on that game, which didn't do well, and other games are detracting away from Borderlands 3, which is just, it's just bullshit. I want to get angry. Sorry.
And
Anyway,
they might,
go for it.
I mean, some people might also be overlapping their distaste for Valve's continual not doing of Half-Life 3.
Look how many dislikes that video got.
Karak
of Valve.
I know. And that's what I was actually, when I read what the topics were, my brain for some reason was actually thinking the Valve. I was not even thinking this game. I was thinking the one that they just announced.
You guys see the crowd reaction for Valve?
Oh, dude!
That was
insane.
kind of funny, but I felt bad for the developers. Like
I did too, because that's it. One doesn't connect to the other at all. Like I mean, that's not the way it works. But I do see that some people probably overlap that worry when they're like, okay, we haven't got a dead. What's the zombie shooter from Valve? Dead.
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. Yeah.
We haven't got a Left 4 Dead 3. We haven't got a Half-Life from them. So if these guys are saying that, you know, they're working on this game over to the side, but they're announcing this one, maybe they aren't, you know. And it's like, we know obviously that's not true, but at the same time, there's a tiny, at least a little bit of way for people to, in their minds, you know, latch that worry onto something. So I understand their worry.
And here's the difference, even because like Valve is an extreme example where
Very extreme.
they never fucking talked about Half-Life 3, right? It's in small passing, but with Gearbox,
They've talked about it openly
for the
multiple
past
times.
3 years that they're working on this game, that it's their next big title, and that there's going to be a big announcement, and that most of our studios is working on it, and that we need all the evidence ready so that when we do a big announcement, we can set expectations already, correctly, sorry. And even given all of that, people are still getting upset. Like, come on, guys, you don't want a studio to just do one game and one franchise. Because what's going to happen to that? Like, look, I gave the example in my video. Look at Call of Duty, right? You have those developers every 2 or 3 years turning around the exact same game, pretty much. You wonder why they're creatively stifled. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think my video, because yours was focusing on, okay, we got Gearbox, they've done this all the time. They announced they're working on a new Duke Nukem. They're working on a new Brothers in Arms. Sorry.
Yep.
They're working on tons of games. Borderlands 3, now Project 1v1. This isn't foreign to them. I don't think many people are informed of that. My focus on the discussion was exactly what we were just highlighting, was that the worry stems from this brand new project, that it's just another thing for them to take on. And it's another thing that can potentially, I say this in quotes, distract them from Borderlands 3. Even if they've done this before, it's just that one extra thing, right? Now it's not just, okay, we're working on, I think they even said Duke Nukem as well, right?
Yeah.
Duke Nukem, Brothers in Arms, all that shit. So they have a full plate now, and it's like, how much, 350 people in a studio, yeah, that's a lot. And I don't know if they have multiple studios. That's one thing I'm not entirely sure of. But even if that's still a small amount of people for 4 relatively big projects.
And that's what I was going to say is, if you can find books on this and stuff if you want to read about it. There's stuff about how development houses are built for video games, but a really interesting one is Mad Max, and how many times they tried to make Mad Max, and how they had to make side games to keep people employed while they were still trying to make Mad Max. And it was actually really interesting, because you see that a lot of times. So a Valve or these guys who are like, you know what, we are building this, but we have 350 people, but only 325 are needed because 25 of them are end stage or beta stage or at this point of the art design and development. What do we do with them? Well, one, you relieve them of their jobs. Well, that sort of sucks, right?
Yeah.
Or you say, you know what, we could core something out that works, and we can put it together, and we can build a smaller game on the side as well that keeps them getting experience. It keeps money flowing if the game's good. I see that people can be confused by it, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense to me that they don't do just one thing.
And I want to give the best example, and I thought of this when I was in the shower the other day, and I wish I'd fucking mentioned it in my other video. If we adopted this same logic with Gearbox before they ever released Borderlands, let's say arguably their biggest game at the time was Brothers in Arms. If people had said, we only want you to work on Brothers in Arms and that's it, then we never would have gotten Borderlands in the fucking first place. So let's not do it again. Let's not prevent Gearbox from maybe releasing another game that people love, because it's bad logic.
What
really
blows
is
me
bad
away,
logic.
Lone? It's not only bad logic, man, but get all these guys in a group, and I swear to fucking shit, at least one of them has said, I hate sequels. It's like, you hate sequels, but you want Borderlands 3? Fuck off. What you really hate is you hate sequels that aren't the name of the game that you like. Yep. And so, let them create, buy it, don't buy it, whatever. But you can't have it both ways. And also, these guys got so much shit. Remember when they changed their graphics from Borderlands, from the gritty, real Gears looking to the cel shaded, and people were freaking out? But that is, I think, one of the notable things about Borderlands is the cel shaded look. So it's like, you know what? They have proven, other than Battleborn, which even though Maddie and I liked, they've proven overall they can do some good stuff. Just fucking let them do it.
Yeah. What's another good example? Fucking Bulletstorm. Anyways,
Bulletstorm.
No, what I was going to say though is I'm not a fan of when people couple in their failures with Battleborn, because I think Battleborn as a game,
me neither,
not a failure. As a, when you look at sales figures, big failure.
Right.
And I think there's a big difference there, because we've seen plenty of games.
Bad game, bad seller, right?
Yeah.
Maddie? That's the difference.
Yeah. Exactly, but we've also seen games that have been good and have not sold as well or have gotten that attention they deserve. I think maybe we could use Spec Ops: The Line as one example. I don't think that one sold incredibly well, but I think that's a very impactful story, and a lot of people dismissed that game because they looked at the cover like military shooter, moved on.
Yeah.
And they didn't look beneath the surface, and I think the developers kind of planned on that. They were like, we want the real gamer to experience that, but I think that's what happens. And,
Titanfall 2.
There you go. I mean, that one was kind of like just a really dumbfounding move.
Just sucked.
By EA. They were just like, "Fuck you, Titanfall!" Right next to Battlefield 1. Everyone wants us to kill Call of Duty, and we're just gonna put you there.
Yeah.
Kudos to them though. They released a new DLC for Titanfall 2. I was like, damn, that's commendable.
Titanfall 2. We could sit here for hours talking about how criminally underrated that game was. But in terms of Borderlands, it's going to come. We know it's going to come.
Yeah, I was
just let it happen. They're working on other stuff, and that's how development studios should work. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing that helps a development studio grow is investment in new IP. Mm-hmm. I know people like to say, well, just milk the shit out of the thing that we want, but that is just
you start to hate it.
You start to hate it, but it's also cannibalizing the studio, because what happens if Borderlands goes belly up? Then go bye-bye studio, right?
Yep. Or by the people who helped create it,
and also as well, I mean, you'll have a studio that will, as what Karak was saying before, it's going to expand and contract to meet the needs of one game. So if you have just Borderlands 3 being developed, now they might hire a bunch of people, but as soon as that game is released, it's post-launch support. We're going to let go of 100 staff because we don't need that many.
About those stories where, like, the day a game is released, when people should celebrate, if you talk to devs, many times people will say it's the worst day you can imagine, because there's a really good chance you're going to be fired, and not fired in a bad way.
And it's not going to happen. Like, I think for the most part, we don't know for sure, but once Borderlands 3 is released, some devs are like, oh, now we got Project 1v1. Now we got Brothers in Arms. Now we got Duke Nukem. They have so much shit they can move on to.
I said that a little bit in my video, but I think it's safe to say for those out there who are concerned that we highlight that their next release is probably Borderlands 3 coming from that studio. Like, I think everything else is on the back burner. In fact, in that same interview you were quoting, Lone, I'm pretty sure Randy said, like, we have most of our staff on this game. We know how important
that's exactly what he said.
So they're well aware. I think that's part of the reason why it was a soft launch or soft announcement with Project 1v1. But I think that also leads to pissing people off, because they almost interpret it, or rather misinterpret it, as this sly, like, we're just putting this out here, in case you're interested. This almost like mischievous kind of way of doing it.
Well, I can ruin that for anybody who has an intelligence. No company in the world wants to sly a product. Ever. That's the most ludicrous fucking stupid thing I've ever heard.
They're hiding it because it sucks.
They're hiding it. It's like, no. That's not how it happens. And so just fuck, man. I mean, also, we always talk, as Lone said, we always talk about wanting the devs to have the time to do stuff. You fuckers can't bitch about people having the time to do stuff and then give them the time to do stuff and then bitch because they're taking the time to do stuff. Like, what type of world are we living in? It's like, just sit. I mean, you can't have it both ways, and we always want to. It's like like, oh no, I meant for every other game, but this one I want right now. It's selfish. It's pretty egotistical. So it'll come, and it'll probably be really fucking good for you two, not for me, but you two, because I'm not a big fan of Borderlands.
Not fair enough.
It's all good.
I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's because I haven't played multiplayer with you guys. Maybe that's what I need to say.
That changes it. I've tried playing more. Like, sometimes my friends aren't on when I want to play Borderlands, and I need to get gameplay footage for a video that's coming up, so I'll play it by myself. And it's not that it's a bad game, but it's definitely not.
Well, I've played it with one other person. It's just
think one other person is fine. But like the first time, when I played Borderlands 1, I actually returned it because I played it on my own. And I was like, this is fucking boring. And then my friend's like, nah, buy it again. We'll play it together. It'll be fun, trust me. And best decision I've ever made.
That's cool. That's a great thing to hear, actually. I love hearing that kind of stuff.
So it does definitely depend on the people you play with, how loose they are. Because, if you're like taking it really seriously because you go down a lot in the game, or at least I do. Maybe I suck, but I've found myself, like, if you play with a rager or someone who gets pissed and takes it over really seriously, that can probably sour your experience even more than the base game itself.
But that's the tactic in Borderlands. You go down intentionally to kill someone and then get your shield back up.
Yeah,
that's
your shield and half your health. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
But it makes you look like shit in the gameplay. You're like, God, people probably think I suck at the game, but I'm just intentionally down to myself. I'm really 5 steps ahead of you, and you don't even know it.
I'm fucking playing chess while you guys are playing checkers.
Yeah, buddy.
Go. I'm playing Go.
Oh, that's a hard game.
Next piece of news that I think would segue perfectly is that we were talking about Battleborn a little bit, it commercially flopping, and it seems Lawbreakers on a similar path. We now know that Lawbreakers launch numbers are lower than Battleborn's. In fact, the launch numbers on Steam for Battleborn were 12,000, and for Lawbreakers, it was at a peak of 3,000.
Yeah, and now they're on an average of 480 a day for the last 30 days.
Wow.
You know what the sign of the apocalypse is? Cliff Blazinski doing an interview. And I always say that because Cliff loves to pretend that he's a rebel, and he's obviously not. He's the leader of Gears of War, Unreal. Like, he is solidly mired in the industry, but he likes to be like, I'm fighting the good fight. And he's doing interviews today, a bunch of them. And that actually made me sit up because I looked at the news and it was like Cliff Blazinski does an interview, and I was like, oh, fuck. Because I want it to succeed. I don't love it.
Oh,
but
of course. Yeah.
That makes, like, it doesn't make any difference to me. And it launched horribly, and I still believe that it is a good indication of when a bad or a boring beta can really fucking hurt a game. Because, man, everybody I talked to was like, did you play the beta? Yeah, it's not for me. And it's not for me, maybe. It was literally just like, I have no desire to ever turn it on again. And I don't know what was with that beta.
The difficulty curve is like for hardcore gamers. So it seems like it's applying to some sort of niche, whereas other games that aren't completely similar, but other games such as Overwatch or Call of Duty or whatever,
consumer based to get people in.
You can pick that up without having much experience and still do okay. I mean, like, games that only apply to a certain niche of really hardcore gamers, I don't think they're ever going to do well for the most part anyway.
And maybe they didn't explain it. If that's true, because I'll go check, because if that's true, then what that indicates to me is they just poorly advertised it. And the desire of Cliff to fight the 800-pound gorilla, as he said at GDC, and all this stuff is great, but if you're not getting your word out there about what your game really is, then it can be confusing to people who see it. And let's be honest, it does look a bit colorful. It does look a bit like Overwatch. And so somebody says, oh, I'm okay at Overwatch, I'm going to play. And they just get fucking
my ass whooped.
Yeah. And they're like, I'm never returning again. Yeah. So what do you think, Matty?
Well, I thought it was a fun game, but I'll admit I'm definitely in that pack of people who played the beta extensively, and I enjoyed it. But it was like a wait and see approach, and I never saw. I just kind of let it launch, and when you see that hardly anyone's already playing it, you're like, why am I going to buy it? I'm already going to be out of matches to join in a week or two, right? So I guess it sucks to see, because I thought it was going to be a game that really did well. I expected it to do well. I was like, it's got a pretty cool concept of, just core of the map has these anti-law things, and I don't know, it just, I don't really have much thoughts on it simply because I haven't played enough, where unlike Battleborn, where I played it extensively, I was like, this is a good game, man. I don't get why it's not getting support from players. This one I haven't played enough to really come out and be like, well, why isn't it, or why is it that?
I will say this, I don't know what you guys think, but I noticed that they chose to do modes that aren't necessarily normal. Like, they're not the expected status quo, like something consumer mode.
Remember that?
It's not really, I guess, Unreal 1999, where you would expect a certain type of mode. They only have 3, I think, in the finished title. And then they don't have a ton of maps. And I think it's all that mixed together, where it's like you need to be really good, as Lone said, which I actually wasn't even aware of. And that starts to make sense on why you don't have a ton of maps. Because if you talk to anybody who's like a professional, they'll be like, I'm really good at these 3 maps or whatever. And they don't have a ton of modes. And I think that for a lot of people, they just look at it and they're like, I mean, it's not like Siege, where it started out and had pretty good numbers and then they really supported it. It's where the numbers are just they're a travesty, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes, I just don't know if they can, I
Like,
don't even
launch
know
night,
if they can.
peak 3K. I mean, that's
Yeah, and I'm curious. Like we were talking about this before the podcast started, what the PS4 numbers are like. Like sometimes, and I know people, love the PC gaming scene, and there are games that can do really well, but sometimes games just don't perform well on PC. It happens, and they'll perform fantastically well on console. All the I can't even think of the examples, but there's been so many times where a game will just have abysmal numbers on PC. Like I think even Call of Duty is a good example in that regard. It's usually pretty piss poor on PC, and the numbers are a little bit more healthy on console. It just happens, and you can't explain it. So I don't want to write this game off until somehow we get an indication as to how many people or players are playing it on PS4.
Is it Xbox One as well, Lone?
No, it's not. And apparently Cliff Blazinski was a bit flippant about the Xbox One. Yeah.
I don't know if, man, that's a good idea right now, especially with like the X coming. I mean, that could be like a perfect well, whatever.
Yeah, let me get the specific quote.
I still do believe something. Well, Cliff has been pretty clear that like his relationship with Microsoft, especially around the end, he wasn't incredibly in love with. He's never really said anything super negative, but
he said this. So it was, we liked the PlayStation best at that point in time. We needed to focus. So
okay. I mean,
that's
legit for resources.
My perspective on the whole PS4 thing is like, let's say it's even, they come out, they drop a stat, and they're like, yeah, but you got to remember the player base on the PS4 is 4 times bigger. That's 12,000 players, which is Battleborn peak at launch day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even if it's exponentially better in the terms of statistics, it's still not really that good.
It's not a good sign, yeah.
Oh, and I think we should also indicate they had some issues, speaking again about like how they publicly announced this. They were free to play. Remember?
Yeah, I remember.
And then they switched, and there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, they're free to play." I'm not, and I'm not saying that held over, but I think you can look at the game and how it came out and go, okay, there are some specific things that have occurred in how they got the information out that has hurt them in multiple little, almost like a death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing. Where it's like,
I have so many people tweeting me out saying, what the fuck is Lawbreakers? Like, they just didn't see advertisements or trailers or whatever for the game. I did see them, mind you, here and there.
This game is $30, man. Like,
and don't you guys think, the
price.
Xbox thing, ignoring it, but we've seen a couple games. Microsoft has been open about it. I don't know if Sony has, especially in the 360 days, where a title wasn't doing well and they put it on sale, or their games with gold, and suddenly like people are buying it. It's like Xbox has the preview program. They could have done that. They could have done something on the PS4, a sale. Hopefully we'll see those kind of things that can get those numbers higher. Because I would only want it to succeed. I mean, a bunch of people are working on it, and obviously there's folks who like it.
Of course.
So
Competition
hopefully,
is good.
Yeah, hopefully Sony, says, hey, here's some money up front for advertising just on PSN, so you can see Lawbreakers is available. I don't know, it might already have a big splash page, but
I remember I clicked on the PS Store and it was the first thing that popped up.
Well, that's
huge fucking.
I guess that's bad then if it's not.
Right when you said that, it triggered in my head. I literally clicked on it to go check what was on the store, and then the first thing, it was like Lawbreakers out now, like a big, like, you couldn't miss it kind of promo.
This is one of those games though, guys, where like if you hear especially when I don't like a game, like motherfucking 7 Days to Die console edition, which is a beta, and if any of you fuckers bought it, you're dumb. But that's a beta. It's actually a pre-beta, and they sold it in retail. That game should not succeed. It shouldn't. That's a bad game, poorly made, and it's selling something poor to the consumer. This is not. And so that pisses me off in just that aspect. It's like, fuck, it's a good game. Like, people like it, and there's nothing wrong with it, and it's not doing well. Like, what the hell happened?
Buggy. It's just...
Yeah. That's another thing. I haven't heard a single thing about bugs or anything.
Oh, no. There were hitching problems severely on PS4 at launch. I think it's patched, but there definitely were problems.
Yeah, no, it is patched.
That could hurt something.
I don't know. It's just... I feel like a lot of gamers nowadays, like, I look at it this way. I keep bringing it up, and I apologize, but, like, we look at Hellblade. A lot of people were like, oh, man, I'm going to go pick up Hellblade. Oh, and it's $30. That's awesome. It's like the same thing.
Right.
Why doesn't that apply for Lawbreakers, which is also $30? And, you get...
Because the honest truth is, let's be honest, man. I I mean, I would say that as well until you look at the genre it's releasing in. There's a fucking ton of games that look like that. So much so that I'm sure people for Overwatch and Battleborn compare them like they did with those two. And we're like, what the fuck are you comparing Battleborn and Overwatch for? And then they're going to compare Lawbreakers to it. And there's a look and a feel to it. And I think Hellblade is it's team, you know, it's Ninja Theory, which is, they're fairly loved, but it's a unique title that looks, graphics can matter and it looks different. And I think,
yeah, they're totally different.
The interesting thing is,
I know that the appeal is there for, it's a first person shooter. Like, it's easy entry barrier. I wonder if that, I don't even know if there's a statistic supporting it, but I wonder if that potential statistic, we'll call it, is fading away, where it's like, you know, gamers are more attracted to entering a new game if it's a first person shooter.
Sure. Well, platformers, racers, every single generation has had a type of game, or at least 2 generations have had a specific type of game. Racing, platformers. You couldn't release a fucking Mega Drive or a Genesis without a platformer. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think over time, first person's probably gone down. Open world, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's gone up.
It'll go up.
Open world RPG.
Hub, right, and then Hub, and those will come. So I think you're absolutely right. I think somebody might look at it and go, hey, Horizon was great. Metal Gear was great. Like, these, you know, some of these where you're looking at their ass isn't so bad. So strange.
And here's the interesting thing, though. I mean, because it is an FPS, it makes even less sense that it wasn't released on Xbox One. Because a lot of the audience at Xbox One, that's what they like. So.
I know, it's so weird. And they have the dual purchase now for almost every game on Xbox.
I don't know why these, unless these, like, Sony is paying up big bucks, I don't know why these developers just cut off a big chunk of their player base. I mean, I might be missing the big picture, but I just look at it and kind of scratch my head. I know exclusivity is very important, but, you know, Hellblade,
well,
same
look
thing.
At Nier, the reason why that wasn't done, and they
couldn't run on it.
It couldn't run on it. And so I think that's why I was surprised about the X not having it. But they may just look at the Xbox One and go, listen, we can get it on the X, but the Xbox One isn't going to appeal to graphically what we want to do. I know there was people inside of EA who were pissed that Star Wars Battlefront was 720p on the Xbox.
Really?
Because the resolution's just, that's low. I mean, that's
low,
you can put anti-aliasing on everything, and it's just, you can polish a turd only so much. And so it's like, that's a low resolution, right? And
it really is.
It's sad, man. I mean, but I get it. I get it from a state of power where maybe Cliff was just like, you know, it's just not going to do what I wanted.
Fading away.
Or that.
He's like, fuck you guys.
Motherfuckers.
Anyway, moving on to our next topic. We've been talking about Hellblade. Let's talk about that in full. Lone, I know you haven't played it.
Yeah, I'll remain silent.
Yeah, you
don't have
shut
played it
that
at all,
trap.
or you just turned it on?
No, I haven't played Hellblade at all. I've been playing other stuff, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, for reference, for those who don't know, a quick roundup of it is that it is $30, as I've mentioned multiple times, and it's about 6 to 8 hours, maybe, depending on how much you explore. Karak, I'd like to hear your thoughts first, and we'll get this discussion rolling.
Like I said in the review, I loved it. It's not going to be for everybody, and combat's a little simplistic for sure. Like,
shockingly simplistic when you look at the studio's history.
Right, and then I called it, Horizon, not Zero Dawn, because if you think it's going to be like Zero Dawn, you're already going to be completely like disappointed with what this is. I think it's fantastic, and kudos above anything else for 2 things. The voice actress / actress who plays the main character is actually just an administrative assistant who works for them that they asked to do filming, and she acts perfectly, which is once again, to me, an indication that you don't want Troy Baker pretending to be Troy Baker being Troy Baker. Sometimes you want somebody who has not acted to come in and do something. And her
You mean you don't want typical white man voice in your video game?
I don't care if it's black man voice. I don't care what man voice or woman voice it is. I just don't want Bailey either. I can't remember what her first name.
Laura.
Laura Bailey. They don't need to be in everything. They don't fucking need it. And here's the thing. You talk to actors, if they're all trained by, let's say, if Maddie was training everybody to be an actor, then they may have the same reactions when certain things happen. And that comes out in games. And so this girl, she's fantastic, man. And she looks fearful. I mean, there are times where you're playing like, what the fuck? And then the second thing I have to say, binaural audio. It's not as good as the YouTube videos that sample binaural, but it's good to the point to where if you put your headphones on, it does verticality for sound, things that you do not hear in games usually, and it's fucking phenomenal.
It is, yeah. That was the first takeaway for me, was it's audio masterpiece. Audio masterpiece. Whether it's like the voices where you'll like hear one behind, above to the right, and then like it's just all over, and you're like, it's actually like you're experiencing the voices in her head. When you're in combat and they're like behind you, and then like you just instantly
it's
like
awesome.
I never thought the solution to a game where you're fighting multiple enemies and they tell you to counter an enemy was to turn off all the UI and have you listen. Stuff like that. It's all with the ears, and that's why I think the game recommends using headphones initially, because it's just such a audio journey. It's all driven by that, really. I mean, there's a lot of visual stuff, and the acting really sells it up front, but the audio aspect of things, I'm still really digesting it. I did just, as we're recording this now, I did just beat it last night, so I'm really still kind of like thinking it over, and the ending was really well done. First ending, though, I'll admit this much. First ending, I actually had to, I had like 75% of it, but I had to look up an explanation. First ending I've had to do that for since BioShock Infinite. And I'm not saying it because it was mind-blowing, but just because, and it's not in a way where they threw it all in your face, just so much happened in such a little span of time. And I was like, okay, I get this, but I'm not sure who that is and what's happening here. And what's the connection with these characters. And so once you get it explained fully and you put the pieces together afterwards, you're like, oh, fuck. You're like, that was excellent.
Obviously, I haven't played the game, but usually when I finish a game, I'll just read the Wikipedia page of the plot, just a title back in my head. It's a nice, great way to let everything settle. Like I did it with Outlast 2, and it just makes the story make sense in your head.
Solidifies it a little bit.
It is solidified.
Yeah, see, for me, I try to be a prideful little piece of shit and like put it all together myself. And I'm like, no, I don't need your help. But then like this one, I was like, I really enjoyed this a lot, and I want to make sure I do understand entirely, because it deals with mental health. I wanted to make sure I entirely understood the picture and what story they were trying to tell. And speaking of that, I was really shocked. The first name that comes up in the intro credits is a mental health advisor.
Yeah.
That was when
That's
I was like, fuck. That's usually it's like the studio director. It's like, yeah, this is my game, motherfucker. One of those things. But this was, I was like, they set the tone right there. Like without saying a word, I was
what did you think about? So, I'm always into sound in games and stuff like that, and I thought it did a lot of those sounds. I thought it did sound really well. But when I was playing it, there were some things I wasn't a huge fan of. Mm-hmm. And I found out talking to another YouTuber this morning that when you can pick you can pick where to go. It's hub, right? Yeah. So basically you can pick which god to fight, if you want to call it that. Yeah, who did you fight first? Who was your first boss you experienced?
Cert.
Fire?
Fire.
Mine was not. So what I have found is that people who experience that boss first versus the boss I experienced first have a slightly different, maybe more or less positive, reaction to it. And I think it's a proof that a hub game is really hard to test, because you may be good.
That second boss is a lot harder, or your first a lot harder.
Exactly. And so what happens is some people I know were like, what the I'm getting rolled. What's going on? And I'm all, well, that's one of the problems with a Mass Effect style game that's open world hub. Because what happens is it's hard to say, is this person going to arrive at this boss with particular skills? And are those skills going to be honed enough by the gameplay prior to get them over this hump? And there were a couple people I talked to who were like, that bird guy, I want to fucking kill somebody. Like, because he had tough. So many different, he had different attacks. Remember, it was like
throw at you, he'd dash at you.
And he'd do one dagger one time, and then the next time he'd do two. And if you weren't watching very closely, you'd miss the second and you'd get hit. I like that, but I just wanted to know, like, what were I enjoyed the boss fights, but I did it in a different step than you. Did you like them? Were you?
I enjoyed them. Here's the thing, is that usually when I've noticed with games, especially in this genre, when they introduce a new boss, they're like, okay, let's throw a brand new mechanic their way. And they kind of do, at least with Cert. I won't spoil too much, but yeah, they'll show you the focus mode, and it's really satisfying to just fucking hack shit up. But other than that, it was less about what you do as a player and studying what they're going to come at you with and how you're going to tackle it. It's really hard to narrow down the combat system in a way where it's like, you don't want to say it's deep because it's not. You have a heavy light attack, melee attack. You can evade and you can block, and then you can
do specials. Yeah, the activation.
Yeah, you can activate the focus mode if you do like a perfectly timed parry. But there's something really satisfying about it, and it's really cool when you go up against an enemy where you can't parry them. It's like, okay, I have to evade now. I hit them, my sword just bangs off of them. What do I do now? How do I find that opening? And so picking them apart mechanically, I think, was a lot of the satisfaction that came from the boss fights. I liked it. I can totally see, though, where someone might not enjoy that game as much if they went into the area you went into, because that area was more puzzle heavy.
Right.
A little bit harder to put together, I found personally.
I was not a fan of some of the puzzles there.
Yeah, neither was I, because it allowed the game to give you more of that audio experience where you were, hearing the creepy sounds, and you were, hearing all the audio logs and shit, we'll call them, even though they were lore stones or whatever. But as you're doing that, you're just putting pieces of the puzzle together. And like, I didn't judge it right away because I was really hoping, okay, this might have something to do with the narrative. As far as I know, it never really did. And so I just at the end kind of hand tossed. I was like, fuck, that was like the one thing I really didn't like about the game. Because here's the thing, is that there were 2 points in the game during, we'll call them the trials, that they used that similar puzzle structure, but it was magnificent.
Right.
One, I'll say, was you were in a dark area.
Sorry.
Speaking of sound, one I was just saying was the labyrinth, where you were just using your ears. You were just hearing your way through. That was cool. The other was being chased by a really death-defying creature and finding all the sigils real quickly. So those were 2 things. I was like, okay, that was kind of the same thing, but the formula was spun up enough, and it tied into the story, and it was just a really intense thing and really unsettling more than anything. That was I was hoping for more of those along the way, and you didn't really get those.
Dude, I don't get frustrated very often, because like, you can't. You have to get through the game so you can review it and stuff. So you sort of have to be like, okay, what am I doing wrong? That motherfucker on the cross, the Y puzzle, where it's a Y, and dude, 5 inches to the right is the way you succeed. And every person I've talked to in the last fucking 2 days has been like, that was the one puzzle where they're like, I'm looking right fucking at it. What is wrong? And I accidentally solved it, and that pisses me off. That most of them weren't like that, but some of those puzzles, they were a little poorly tested. I really wish somebody had looked at those a little closer and
like for me, it was where you were hopping between worlds, and there was one where you had to like line up a shadow and these boxes and something above them and get it on. You're on top of the stair set looking down at it. You just had to line up right. And I remember when I first did, I was walking around for easily 20 minutes. And it was like 3 in the morning. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to sleep, man. I go to sleep. I wake up the next day. I start up. I'm like, all right, fresh head. I'll probably solve this. This is usually what happens. 10 minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck? And then, much like you said, I all of a sudden I was walking, and then it like, you know how it starts to highlight it and let you know, like, okay, you found it. That's what it did. I was like, that's really it? Like, that looks hardly like the puzzle I was trying to solve, but okay. And I took it and moved on. But I get what they're trying to do, because I feel like this is a game that if you were to replay a couple of years later, it's the story that'll stick out, because people will be like, the combat's not that deep. The puzzles just really get in the way.
And it's the black magic Jack Sparrow, plain and simple. Yeah. That dude, I've never laughed so hard as when the fucking shaman shows up in full motion video and he's sort of like faded in, and I'm like, what in the... And all of a sudden... That was
different, though. A good type of different.
It was, but my brain said Jack Sparrow. And then from that moment on, I was like, oh, no, it's Johnny Depp. And I had that issue where you're like, okay, it's not as funny as your brain is telling you right now. But his interplay, and then little things like finding people's faces in the rock and having them talk to you in the waterfall. And then... and I'm not spoiling anything, because there's waterfalls and rocks all over the fucking game. So there's no spoilers there. But additionally... the Alice in Wonderland fucking rings in some of those were so cool to like go around and go, I don't know where to go, and then look the other way and see like the bridge and go, wait, was that bridge always there? There's something very mystical and very, very cool about those.
See, I like
about those
the
elements.
environmental, we'll call them puzzles, where you had like a portal you could walk through, and if you like step to the side of it, you'd see like
That's
a
what I'm
door.
talking about. Alice
yeah,
in
okay,
Wonderland.
yeah, and then you look through it. Okay, sorry, didn't understand that. And yeah,
That's
you
all
look
right.
through it. That was really cool. Yeah, I liked it overall though. That was a very good game. But like I said, I think the story is going to sit with me more than anything. And right now, it's definitely on my top 5.
And bravo to them for a couple things. Like, one, releasing it at a price that I think like made sure they hit a certain demographic. Like, you know, a price where people could look at it and go, I mean, if it's more expensive,
like
they say, is it Horizon Zero Dawn? Yeah, they can just look at it and go, it's half that price. And also just taking it and doing something different. You know, I sort of like that. I'm not a big, I don't believe every indie is fucking, you know, like some special jewel, but the what they put together, and that it's a spiritual sequel to the prior game. I liked the idea of Demon Blade and then Heaven, or what is it, Hellblade? And then Heavenly Sword.
Okay.
Yeah, I always mess that up. And being like a spiritual sequel to that, I enjoyed. There was some weird DNA you could feel between the two.
The lore stones you'd listen to, and they kind of give you, I don't know what it was. Did you find that interesting at all?
I did, only because I know some of the history, like some of the, you know, real history versus what he was saying. And so, yes, but I can see why a lot of people, that would not cause them to look around the level.
That was another part of the game, I'm not going to lie, that just over my head.
Went over your head, yeah.
You know, aside from one part at the end where I listened to it, I was like, okay, this is tying into what's happening now. Most of what was happening, I didn't feel like there was any connection. I didn't feel like there was, I felt it was just kind of there. And that's the thing is I don't think combat was an afterthought, and I don't think the puzzles were most of an afterthought, but I feel like those lore stones were kind of there as like a little, okay, like, here you go, for an otherwise really immersive game, right? So
sure, yeah. Yeah, like maybe a collectible in a weird way that they thought they needed.
Yeah, really, I think they did. I think that was the thing. They were like, we need collectibles. Okay, how do we do it? Because, you know, we need something for the player to do on their, you know, point A to point B journey.
Right.
Overall, though, that was an excellent game. And I wholeheartedly, as I said on Twitter, really recommend that people who own a PS4 or PC play it. $30, cannot argue that price for a game that's, if you really appreciate narrative, I'd say definitely pull the trigger. If you know the gameplay,
or gamefly it if you fucking. I mean, if you can't
it's a 6-hour-ish game, really. If you know, if
it took me longer. So how far? Of course, I did check all the runestones. How you're saying it took? You only got 6.5.
Well, that's the thing. Is like I said, I wasn't rushing. You know, I was just talking about how I don't rush my reviews. But when I started to not really give a shit about the lore stones, I was like, I really care what's happening with Senua, sorry, and what's going on with her. I don't care about these lore stones. And so if I saw them, I'd stop, I'd listen, but I didn't go out of my way to find them. I didn't rattle my brain on what one lore stone I was missing. Didn't really matter to me. I kind of wish I did, because this is one of the easiest platinum trophies there, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's just, I think I also like didn't walk everywhere. I don't know if you did. You know, I'd hold L1 to jog a lot of the time, just because, not because I'm like, gotta go. I was just like, okay, I'm walking. Why not just jog?
Walking is boring as fucking games.
You know, games exactly.
But it was really,
games
I
don't
can
handle
see
it
why, with how great the visuals were. I can't speak. How great the visuals were in the game. You know, and there were some really big moments of excellent writing that I was sitting there like, I could see how someone would want to slow walk this part and really just be like, yeah, I feel like a fucking beast right now, and I'm there. And so I can see where people are coming from with that, but for me, I was just like, okay, you know, this is just making the game longer. This is and it's not like I'm trying to rush to the finish line. It's more so like it feels like the developers intentionally making me walk here. The Order 1886. How about that?
Yeah.
You know,
fuck that. Fuck any game that has a run button that doesn't have stamina go away. Thank God, because you're not like, you know, a 700-pound morbidly obese character. You should be able to run for a while. That chick can run. She has no stamina, so you can do constant rolls in battle. those are all put in the game. You can't rush. People can say you're rushing, but you're not. To me, what you're talking about is a normal person playing a game in their fashion, using the tools the game developer put down.
I mean, they put a run button. That's the thing. They put a fucking run button there.
Exactly.
If I want to get through and just like, okay, like I want to, out of excitement, I want to know what happens next. Like I'm fucking beelining.
Oh, dude! before we bore Lone even more with the game, he has fucking no clue what we're talking about. Half the shit. Some of the transition changes were fucking insane in that game. There's one in particular when the world basically lights on fire, and I was not prepared for that. Like, I mean, I've seen stuff like that happen in games, but for some reason I was not prepared for that one. And I've touched the stone and it's talking, and then it's like fucking everything. And for some reason my brain was just like, that might be the coolest thing I've ever seen in the last couple of weeks. Like I was just like, I was legitimately impressed by that.
They did a good job with, more than anything, seamless transit. Like, it's just a very seamless game. There's no loading screens, which is something that, for example, Pyre, that really kind of jarred me. I know it's kind of
the loading, right?
Yeah, that like, you know, pick your squad, loading. You know, they introduced the rights loading screen. It's like there's so much loading screens here, and so I guess the timing's right. It was really refreshing, despite how much I love Pyre. We talked about it last episode. Hellblade, I was really, really happy with that they kept that, just kept going, because, you know, I just found myself marathoning this game. It's not a super long game where a marathon is something, this is a title you beat from an afternoon to an evening. Yeah. But still, it was one that, like, I could not put the controller down. I did not stop for anything because it just kept going. They did a really excellent job keeping the player engaged.
So, Lone, talk to Rachel. Make sure she tells you to play it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Matty's so cut up about that.
I know he is.
Because it's some shit, dude.
Well, play my games.
Yeah, just my games. Yeah, you can only play games within my library. Just have this ultimate control over you.
Yeah, but no worries, Karak. I'll play the game you suggested. That's fine.
Go fuck yourself.
That's awesome. Oh, man.
All right, next subject that we will talk about is well, we were talking about an easy platinum trophy in Hellblade, and then the Xbox achievement system is undergoing some huge changes. They want to basically highlight, for example, there might be someone who plays 2,000 hours of Halo. They're really good at Halo 5. They want to highlight that, and they want to make sure gamers know that. They want to make sure their score and everything reflects that. So what do we think about, and I know, Karak, you're not a big fan of the achievement trophy system. You know, you kind of think it's just a little silly. But what do you guys still think about a system that's been around since the Xbox 360, the birth of that, undergoing some pretty serious changes?
Go for it, Lone.
Okay. So it's interesting for me because there was a time where I had to 100% everything. And I've talked about this before.
I'm slowly breaking that habit. It's so relieving.
No,
I can play more games.
No, I've completely ditched it. Because exactly right. Not only does it prevent you from playing more games, it also prevents you from playing some games because you're like, well, I can't 100% this game because it's impossible. So why the fuck am I going to play it in the first place?
Oh, God.
That happens so often. But you know what? So long as it doesn't
so funny.
undermine the core concept of achievement, I think, you know, pure achievement hunters will still be fine with it. I don't know if it's like if any of the changes are actually affecting really how achievements work. Like, is there, Matty? I don't know.
Well, they haven't gotten into specific details. They didn't say they were changing anything with gamer score. They just said they just want to highlight more of like when a player is special. You know, that he might not. They said exactly that he might not play a lot of games, but he'll play a lot of Halo 5, and he's really good at Halo 5, and they want to be able to showcase that. So I wonder if there's going to be like gamer scores that you can like pin to your profile. 2,000 hours in Halo 5. One thing I've always said is that they should continue to do that they don't do as much now is avatar items for like when you put X amount of time into a game or do a certain cool objective. I really, 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 really like that with the Xbox 360. They did that with a couple of games, and it was really cool to get this special item because I did something special in the game and I could show it on my profile.
That's the problem. I think avatars are less important nowadays, aren't they?
They
like
are.
I don't see my avatar much anymore.
Yeah, they are. Even though I keep mine as my gamer picture because I'll always remember it. But, you know, I thought that was a really cool idea. Another thing that they've clearly need to add for a while is a similar system to a Platinum Trophy. They kind of have one now. I realized it when I was playing. I think
Rare? The diamonds.
Yeah,
I
the
love
diamond
those.
ones. Yeah.
I know that sounds stupid, but people will be watching my review and be all, dude, what's that diamond? And I'm like, I know, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, like that's kind of a similar system they added. I forgot exactly how it works. This is the only game I really saw it in use for, because I really haven't touched my Xbox One
It's
since
exactly
then.
it's what yeah, the diamond is what you're talking about. It actually, the lower the number of people who've got it, the higher your chance of getting that rare. And so it pops up basically saying this is a rare achievement, as in not that it's already made rare, it's that almost nobody's got it. Because I just got one on a game that's been released for like 6 months, and I just got it yesterday.
Okay.
So it's doing what you're
interesting.
saying.
That's cool
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a substitution where PlayStation has like what they added to their trophy system at the birth of the PlayStation 4 was they instead of having like a rare, or rather, I'm sorry, bronze, silver, and then gold, and then the platinum, of course, they also added the percentage to let you know, like, for example, I think one of the most satisfying things when I get the platinum trophy is seeing I'm in that 2% of people who actually at the time.
Right,
I was like, fuck yeah, like I really put the work in,
It's a trophy leaderboard, right?
Yeah, exactly. It basically is, except Xbox actually has a leaderboard. They'll each month you'll see who leads on your friends list in Gamerscore. So you have this kind of invisible competition with people and stuff. But
I think you're right. I think it would be great if they started rewarding. So rewarding gamers is great, but some, like Lone said, I don't even know what my avatar looks like. So that goes away. Gamer score is so high now because people have the same account that they're in the millions, and so that doesn't matter so much. I would certainly like to see some kind of cool little, like, imagine rare backgrounds or a rare premium theme that is unlocked by doing these very rare things.
Because, PlayStation did that for in the UK, I want to say for Neo. I'm not 100% sure if those are, but it was just a region thing, or Bloodborne it might have been.
Was it if you bought it or if you did something?
If you platinum, I think Bloodborne,
there you go.
UK people got like a special dynamic theme, and I'm like, why isn't this more of a thing? This would be so cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool, yeah. I like that idea.
I'm hoping like that they start to do more of that, more along those lines. That reward the player, make it look special. I think, even though it was kind of an off the top of my head idea, I think maybe the idea of pinning it to your profile, that might be really cool.
Yeah, it's just the thing with achievements, which is why I prefer achievements over the whole trophy system in PlayStation, is that you can look at someone's username on Xbox and see their gamer score. It's right there, right? So when Xbox talks about, well, we want to kind of try and highlight how many hours someone has put into a particular game, I'm wondering from that perspective, is there a quick and simple way to have, like, when you usually have someone's username and their gamer score in that kind of section, somehow highlight that they've put 1,000 hours into Halo. And I can't think of something without it being too intrusive or just too cluttery. I honestly can't.
So you
Obviously,
don't think like pinning it to the profile would be...
But when you click into someone's profile, you can show whatever you want, right? That's fine. But no one's, like, very rarely, I think, someone's going to click into someone's profile to see what kind of achievements that they've done. I think, this is just my opinion, I think when Xbox talks about revamping the achievement system and wanting to highlight those particular things, they want to try and make sure that when you look at your friend and you can easily see their gamer score, wherever that shows up, in that instance, highlight the fact that someone's put into heaps of hours into a game. But how do you do that? Like, do you have your gamer score text be gold instead of silver or something like that? But does that make sense?
I bet you, I don't even want to say this because I hope it doesn't get out, but can you imagine if it's like emojis where it's like a fucking rectangle if you shot 100 people in the head? Because I don't want a passive award. So 1,000 hours in Halo
on the keyboard for it.
I can just sit in Halo in the menu and get 1,000 hours. So they would have to really check, what were you doing? Were you a team killer? We don't want to reward that. Right. I was killing all my friends. Well, you don't want to reward that. But if they said 10,000 headshots over 500 yards in this game, and you got a stamp, like stamps, and you could choose what stamps on your own profile to display, that would be cool because then you could choose it.
You've given me a great idea. All right. So usually Xbox, you have your username, and I believe you have like the little G for gamer score. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I'll look right now. I've got it.
Alrighty. So I believe if you have that G, okay, you should be able to choose a particular color to
Right.
for that G, and then that would represent something. So let's say you put 1,000 hours into Halo, and that gets you a gold G. You
Or
can
a
decide to show
textured
that
one or something. Yeah.
or
So-
textured. Yeah.
Just that's a good idea, but what they're saying, I wanted to bring up the article just because we're spitfiring ideas here, is that they say they're calling it fundamental changes to the concept of Xbox achievements. They say we're going to go big in the area of letting people show off and represent their gaming history and type of gamer they are far more than we do with Gamerscore. Without going into much detail, Ybarra hinted at an alternative Xbox achievement system to complement the existing trophy and Gamerscore-based scheme. This new ranking system could highlight the feats of players who choose to specialize in a particular version of a game, as is common in esports scenarios.
So in a beta, not a beta, I'm sorry, in a survey almost a year ago, there was a question about, would you like to see the videos that are posted to your Xbox be thumbnails and be achievement driven? So like if you kill somebody, a little video is posted to your action, like I killed him, and it shows a video of that. Microsoft's one of the only companies that probably has a server bandwidth to do something like that. So I'm wondering if they're going to go with a broadband solution and a media solution instead of a color. They're like the reticle I was talking about, reticle, sorry, is actually a little video, or maybe it's a slightly bigger thumbnail size video of me killing my 10,000th guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says,
You might
in
see
this
that.
way, players who choose to be competitive in a narrow selection of games can also get the same recognition as those who play a ton of games and earned a lot
have a
more
higher-
achievements,
yeah.
including
I like
the
that
easy
idea.
ones. So
See,
what
that's-
they're
and
trying
that's
to do
the
is
point,
balance it
right?
out a little bit.
So they're trying to say, well, look, it's fine if you play a bunch of different games and you have
Right.
fucking a million gamer score, right? But that's not so fair for people that play just as much as you, but perhaps don't get a bigger gamer score because they've done all the achievements in the game.
Yeah.
So again, I think the quick and easy way to do that is some sort of color to indicate something.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Nothing
might be.
says fundamental changes like a color.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is fundamental to me doesn't necessarily even feel visual. It feels like when they say fundamental, that to me, if you look up the word, I mean, that actually like means the basics, the underpinnings. And so I'm like, it'd be interesting to see what underpinnings they're going to switch around. Are they going to? I like that people can get achievements just because I don't like them or care. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
much. The occasional rare is fun because of the crystal, but I really do believe it's because it looks different than everything else. So if there's a way to give somebody something that looks different because they played State of Decay for 100 hours versus somebody who just got all of the achievements and ran off, I think that's awesome. But
Yeah, that's a
as
good
Lone
point.
said, it's going to be hard as fuck.
That's a good
Like
point.
I don't know how you would. I just
the
don't know how it
goal
works.
the goal sounds like to get that percentage of players who are investing in the achievements. Now you mentioned that, to keep them playing, because like you said, a lot of people will get that platinum, will get the 100% and be like, okay, I'm done. So
done,
they
move
think,
on.
what can we add
Right.
to keep the player playing after that? And I don't think it should come down to achievements, and trophies. Although I am guilty of that. There are tons of games that I have played, gotten
I've
the
got your
platinum, and
tweets.
just
I
see
got
ya.
a platinum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just I have to count them all up. But there aren't many games like Nier is one I've gone back to a bunch. I mean, my favorite games are the ones I go back to despite whatever trophy count I have. But there's not, like, I find myself, if I'm going back a third or a second time for a game, it's usually to get the rest of the trophies or something like that.
Yeah.
I am big on replaying games. There have been games I've replayed that I just don't care about the platinum for. But like I said, a lot of the time it's like, if I'm putting in the work, I'm like, might as well. And then once you get it, you kind of feel done. You feel like you've given your love and yourself to the game, and it's like, all right, we'll move on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I treat platinum trophies as like an act of love, except for Amazing Spider-Man 2. Fuck that game. That shit was awful. I don't know why I remember. I don't know why I put myself through that game, dude. I literally remember sitting in this chair, just fucking having my legs kicked up, headphones on. I was listening to like a podcast for 5 hours as I'm just grinding out, leveling up all these Spider-Man suits. And the way I did it was on like the last level of the game. I just kept doing it over and over and over and over. And I'll never forget the level. It's ingrained in my fucking head. I had like a speed run for it. I knew how to fucking get through it and just bang, XP, boom, done. Do it again, 5 hours straight. I must have had some time on my hands, bro. That's fucking. That's some.
Sounds horrid.
Yeah, that was some stupid shit. That game was awful.
Hope that was a good podcast.
It was what was it? Fucking. I think it was kind of funny. I'm not sure. I don't even know if they were around at that point in time. Anyway, next bit of news. Overwatch is getting a deathmatch mode, so they're adding a free-for-all mode. A team game, a team-based game, is getting a mode that encourages you to fight for yourself, and they're adding a brand new map based off it as well. I believe it's set in France. Looks really cool, though. Any thoughts on Overwatch adding a deathmatch mode? Just more options?
Yeah.
So how does it work? Is it a separate mode you click into, or is it part of the quick play?
I'd imagine it's a separate mode. You can, because like,
And that's fine.
under
Yeah.
arcade, there you can click on like the 3v3s. You can do like the mixed game modes. You can do
That's fine. Yeah.
1v1s. I think there's a bunch of options you can select from.
You
So
can
I'd
do
imagine,
Lucio Ball now.
Yeah. I was gonna say I can imagine because you can select Lucio Ball separately. I'd imagine that deathmatch is just another one of those. So yeah. Speaking of that, they also added that back again. I don't know if that'll be permanent or not, but because they're adding it to
They have a
competitive
Sydney,
play.
Australia map. Looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, Australia.
Australia, mate.
We're seeing a lot of modes being added to the game now to, I don't know if it's an act to make it more accessible or if it's just something to really round out the package where you look at it, it was this team-based competitive shooter. Now they got a free-for-all mode. Now they got a sports game mode. I mean, this is a really flexible game when you think about it. They got everything going for them now. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't mind. I mean, you still got your quick play, and for people that just want to experience something different every once in a while,
True.
you've got these other cool modes. And I don't know whether anyone is actually against that. Like, if it was something that was forced upon people, then fine. But it's a choice. It's an option. You can do your fucking normal Overwatch gameplay, or you can play your Lucio Ball or whatever it is. So if it's more choice for the players, then we can't complain.
I don't see what there would be to complain about it.
Yeah, no, it's
more
it's something that we.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's something that some Overwatch players that have come from a traditional Call of Duty Battlefield background have wanted.
Yeah.
It's just I wonder how the
for it.
balance is going to be, because you have some players or some
gonna be
characters
all
that would
attackers.
just dominate people. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you could. That's the thing. That's the beauty of Overwatch's cast is I could sit here and be like, it's all attackers. I mean, the support characters probably know more for that mode, but
yeah, exactly. Like you wouldn't fucking play a Mercy in a deathmatch, right?
unless
but like,
there was like a
even
Mercy
saying
only
that,
deathmatch mode, that would be kind of funny because
That'd be-
they do
that'd
that
be
sometimes
hilarious.
for arcade. Just put a random.
well, do you know what
mode.
they should do? Really, they should have it where you can, like, I don't know, but only within a particular category of plays or of characters can you choose. So you can have a deathmatch with attack characters, because it wouldn't make sense if you could just choose any character and someone's like, I genuinely want to play a defensive, and then someone comes in with a Doomfist and wrecks your day.
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
that the balance would be interesting.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's designed to be balanced because I don't think they'll be doing like competitive.
Yeah, maybe
for it.
not.
It's a different map. So, hey, you know what? If they want, they could always, have places where like your power is turned up if you enter this area. And so you go into the area and
they did have those.
just
graph
have it be
pads
crazy fun,
for,
yeah.
yeah,
the
just
map.
have it be crazy. I think it'd be better if it was just nuts and it was
Yeah,
like
fair enough.
test your future ideas for the other parts of the game in there. Go, is this character fun to do this way? Let's see how people are treating them in deathmatch.
Well,
So,
let's be honest, a big part of this is just market testing. Like, they're just trying to test out new features and see if they can apply it to the main game to make it better. Simple as that.
Yeah, the beauty of the PTR. Nothing quite like having a separate client for your game that you can just have players fire up beta test for you and data
Yep.
mine it all and then fucking put out the full thing, balance this shit. It's amazing. Works out
Yeah.
so well for them. Anyway, just a quick little segment there. We'll move on now to Shadow of War's microtransactions. This ought to be a good discussion. So, we've known that they're going to have some type of microtransaction system for a decent amount of time. We didn't know what. Now we know what it is. So we're getting like loot chests, XP chests, or boosts, I'm sorry. Just a whole ton of shit that's really going to turn into, in many ways, a pay to win. And they're saying you can earn this stuff through just playing the game. But we know that the option is there to get payers to play. The only way to get them to want to pay is to discourage them from actually playing the game and paying to get what they want. So yes, I could acquire all the shit I want in the game. Is it going to take me 10 plus hours to get something that could take me 2 minutes? That's my concern.
So the first thing that I want to make sure that we clarify is that some people were saying when this came out that, well, because you can obtain everything through normal gameplay, it's not pay to win. That's just completely false. All right, pay to win is the ability to buy a game item or a chest or whatever it is that fundamentally gives you a better advantage in the game. Whether you can also obtain that through normal gameplay is irrelevant. Yeah, they're just two different instances of pay to win. You might have one where pay to win is just more severe because there are some items completely locked behind a paywall, or you can have one where everything's obtainable but you can still buy stuff. They're both still pay to win. So I think some people were confused about that. I don't know why. I think it's a pretty simple concept. So in this instance here with Shadow of War, when they didn't have there was one stage when this microtransaction system was announced, and that we didn't know whether there was going to be a multiplayer system, right? So it was just the single player. In that instance, it's technically pay to win, but I was like, okay, if it's just for your single player game, it might affect the enjoyment of the game. Like, I don't think Shadow of Mordor would have been as fun if you could just buy orc followers outright, for instance, right? But then they announced this multiplayer system where you're using the army that you've collected in the single player, and then you're applying that to the multiplayer scheme. But then that army has been built up by a bunch of orc followers that potentially you could get from chests. So that's pay to win. And that's where I kind of draw the line. I'm like, well, what happens in the multiplayer where everyone's just getting dominated by teams that have been quickly, developed by purchasing chests? That's where I drew the line, and I had a problem with it. When it was just the single player, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy stuff because it's probably not the best way to play it, but I could see why some people might want to. Yeah. But there is still a risk that they could increase the normal grind to a stage where it just becomes annoying. But then the multiplayer was just a different concept for me.
Interesting. See, I sit on when it comes to microtransactions in general, I sit in the area where it's kind of like I know you're going to do it anyway, so if you're going to do it, just do cosmetics and leave it as that.
Yes.
I know that despite Activision Blizzard having tons of fucking cash, they justify their microtransactions by saying, well, it's why we give you free monthly content. And I can't really argue with that. They have to make their money somehow, and I do actually get enjoyable free monthly content. Now, with that being said, to get that free monthly content like the new skins, I really either can grind the fuck out of the game or spend actual money and unlock a bunch of chests, which then we know how Overwatch crates go.
Yeah.
So it is this never-ending spinning cycle. And there was an excellent Reddit post, I covered it in a video, about this very topic. And it was talking about how it's kind of concerning seeing this constant spinning of the wheel type microtransactions are coming into the industry over and over. We're seeing it come into Battlefront 2 now. And people were really approving of this type of thing where it's now like what happened to the days where it was either you bought the game for a fixed amount, that was it, or you got DLC for that fixed amount price, or you paid a subscription for an MMO, for example. Now we got this where we got kids just constantly fucking tossing cash at the screen. I'm guilty of it when I was younger, like I said in the video. FIFA Ultimate Team, oh my god, it was nasty. Just spending so much money on the Ultimate Team packs because I love the idea of opening card packs as a kid and doing it digitally and then building the best fucking team possible. So much fun. So I get the satisfaction, but it does lead to a concern in the industry, a growing problem more than anything, where people are saying like, gambling addictions and all that shit can start to be developed here. But not getting into that subject, more so that I sit in the part where it's like, I don't like them. I see why developers do it, because Karak made an excellent point many episodes ago, and it's something I've always carried with me in these types of discussions, is that it allows the developer to, upfront put those features out so that we don't see feature delay, so we don't see cut content. We see them say, we'll make up the difference with these microtransactions. So it's a really give and take for me, but at the end, I'm not the biggest fan of them because there's nothing worse, I feel, than booting up a game and seeing like the new game, load game, store in the biggest fucking text and like in the bottom right corner, buy the season pass and you'll get X, Y, and Z. It's like, dude, like I just bought the game and you're already trying to fucking grab more cash from me. Come on. So yeah, that's where I stand.
What do you think, Karak?
I think that we've seen one or two games do it right. I think Matty agrees with me, so if he doesn't, I apologize. I know some people do, but I think Mortal Kombat Injustice 2 works pretty well because you have the ability to turn off anything you've got and fight people online just as your characters.
That's cool.
That's
a
really
cool
That's a
thing.
very good point.
I am not a fan of Shadow of War as much as most people. I mean, in fact, I'm really not a fan. I felt the first one was really grindy. I'm very nervous. This will just make this one more so. And if I notice the first one was grindy and other people didn't, I'm worried they're going to feel it's grindy, which I'm going to feel it's even more so.
Yeah, same.
But for me, it's if you have the ability to go to multiplayer, and it's like, FYI, when you go to multiplayer, anything you have purchased in the single player game cannot be great. For that part, that's great. But what bothers me,
it's a great idea.
I've said this before, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, and maybe I'm not explaining, or maybe it's the dumbest idea in the world. But for me, I would rather have no microtransactions whatsoever when a game is launched. And the reason why is because even a cosmetic microtransaction in some way is taking resources from an artist or somebody else who from not on the main game. I just want that shit there, day one. And then in a month, if you want to say, we've watched people, we're using a heat map, we've figured out that there's some issues here and there. Some people aren't liking Mad Max's first grind, for instance. Let's give them some points to get their car up to date if they want months later. Great. Yeah. I know people hated Two Worlds. It did a ton of microtransactions recently, and I don't like that they turned off the console and all this other stuff, but it's an older game, and it's like, you know what? If I buy a game for $3 and then microtransactions, because it's on sale for $3 and it's got 60 hours of content, and there's now microtransactions if I want it, but it hasn't changed the core game because the core game was programmed without those in it, I'm fine with that too. But no company is going to do that, unfortunately. And so I'm with you guys where it's like, unfortunately, we're at a point where it's going to happen. I'm not going to just rate a game terribly because I didn't Deus Ex, which I also felt worked fine without them. I beat Deus Ex, this last one, and then found out there were microtransactions before the review went live. Like, I played it and then looked in the options for the other stuff because I was like, okay, they are the modes. I beat the single player and it's like store or whatever. And I was like, what? No. And so that didn't make an effect on me at all. So it's possible.
What's annoying, and Karak, you and I can relate to this one, is when you get a review copy, you're talking about the title. Are there, I try to cover this in reviews.
I already know what you're going to say. Yeah.
You're like, are there microtransactions? Nope. And then an update comes out for the game after review copies are done, reviews are out, and players buy the game, and there's a store there. It's like,
or worse, they fucking close the store off. That just happened on a game recently where the store was not on when I was reviewing it. So I emailed them and was like, I'm not reviewing the game unless the store is on, so I can see what the fuck is actually going to be available day one. Oh, well, the store won't go live. Fine, reviews coming out later. Because there's no way I'm going to tell people what the effect is without knowing. Because if somebody, for example, I really do feel Injustice 2 handles it very well. Mm-hmm. It's like the ability to just say, I want to enter multiplayer without my stuff.
I don't see them popping. And that's a game that's got a platform for microtransactions. But I don't remember them really putting it in your face like, come on, buy this, get the loot quicker, and
no, matter of fact, it's in a different spot. And so, we'll see. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, look, I really like the point you brought up, Karak, about how if they have microtransactions, even for cosmetics, day one, they've had an artist spend hours on that stuff. That didn't even occur to me. But even given that, I would still take the general view that I don't want to say microtransactions are a necessary evil. I get why developers and publishers do it, right?
Yep.
But even given that, I would still lean towards if any microtransaction in a game were purely cosmetic, then I have absolutely no issue with it because I am not forced or incentivized or pushed to buy those items. Yeah,
Can
it's
I
not
ask you a
like
question, real quick.
Yeah.
Some games now are wrapped around their cosmetics. For example, Omega Marvel is all about superhero suits, and it's all DLC suits. And so in a way, it's a cosmetic, but it's a superhero, and their suits matter. 75 different
but does it affect how well you play, or does it affect gameplay?
No, what I'm saying is it affects your enjoyment of the game because it's so cosmetic has become such an issue in that game, right? It's become a gameplay element because you can play the game as Gwen Spidey if you want, or normal Spidey, but there's fucking 18 Spider-Man suits, and that's really the only stuff to get. And so I agree with you. I'd rather have it cosmetic, but I'm nervous games will switch.
People try to defend
that's a gray area.
Like, oh, you shouldn't have to put the carrot in front of you to keep playing the game. I'm like, dude, if there's an unlock system, if there's something I can unlock, then why can't I? Why do I have to pay real money for it?
But look,
that's
here's the thing, and of course this comes down
to... That's a small issue anyway. It's not no, games.
And this comes down to personal issues, right? But personal perspectives. But giving you an example, I recently jumped back into Overwatch after not playing it for months. And I played that game. I was like, oh, everyone is running around with their own cool little unique skins. Mm-hmm. But does it affect me? No, it doesn't, because they're not fundamentally because of those skins, they're not fundamentally a better player than I.
Exactly.
So I'm not disadvantaged. I'm not unfairly treated because I haven't spent extra additional money on top of the money it requires to buy the game in the first place, right? That's why I kind of draw the line with cosmetic versus fundamental pay to win, because let's say I go, buy Shadow of War, which I will, and I'll play the single player game without spending any money on microtransactions, right? But if because I've decided I just want to play the game normally, like Shadow of Mordor, and then I'm like, well, maybe I want to try the multiplayer, and I just get my ass kicked, that's the problem.
By the guy's level 42 orc of fucking awesoming, and you're like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, you can have cosmetics and skins that somewhat make you want to buy stuff, and I still don't think that's a problem, because you don't need to be able to compete, right? But when there's a game that's like, all right, now we're going to sell you chests, which give you orc followers. We're going to sell you chests that give you better items for Talion and stuff like that. So it actually affects your ability to compete online, and that's what really pushes you to buy stuff. And that's why I'm like,
zero fucking sense. Why does Mordor have a market where I can buy a box of orcs? Can you actually buy orcs?
It doesn't make sense. What I said in my video, the best bit, arguably, for Shadow of Mordor was when you're in the second map and you were able to slowly and methodically kill bodyguards, dominate them, and then kill the captains or generals or whatever, and build your army that way. That was the best fucking bit about Shadow of Mordor. But now I can bypass that by buying the orc outright. That actually, I think, it's a weird dissonance where it's fundamentally, the microtransaction system that is actually affecting how enjoyable the game should be.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree with all that. I'm just nervous about later on if some game is based around cosmetics.
That dissonance that we're talking about highlights exactly what I've been saying, where it's like, that's why we'll talk about Project 1v1 for a sec. That's why I can guarantee you that they're doing a first-person shooter and a card game, because then you got your card packs. You got your card packs, so it makes sense that they will sell you packs of cards like you did when you fucking grew up, or they're
Steam the Gathering. It's going to be so much money.
I'm telling you, it makes sense, and so people don't argue it in universe as much. It's not as baffling as Shadow of War, but they're like, market, you can buy orcs here. It's just like, why? How did you go out and collect them for me, and I'm just buying them now? I mean, isn't the fundamental core of Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, unless I'm missing something after playing a lot of Shadow of Mordor, you build, and just like Lone said, you build your army yourself. Where's the gameplay satisfaction in even providing the fucking option to buy your army?
No, I completely agree with that. But see, and this is the weird thing, because it's just popped into my head, right? It's weird because when you have microtransactions in a single-player game, I agree that, at least with Shadow of War's case, I think it could affect how enjoyable the game would otherwise have been without microtransactions. But then I think of a game like Borderlands, where if you can buy golden keys and get really rare great guns from the golden chest, and that allows you to deal more damage and to actually have a better gun that helps you in the game, I still don't have a problem with that, because there's no competing factor. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can, but I would not be surprised if you could in Borderlands 3. I would not.
That would upset me, because I really, really like what they do with the golden keys in Borderlands 2.
Because they give them out for free all the time.
You sign up for a site, you engage on their social media platform. Yeah. It's a smart way to get you involved in them, and you get the keys to get more loot. It's a really smart way.
But this is the question, right? This is the question. If Borderlands 3 said you can buy golden keys outright, because it's not like affecting how well you compete against others. Maybe when you duel someone, but they're still your friend, they're still playing the same game together with you. There's no PvP aspect. There's no similar aspect to Shadow of War, where you're actually there's a mode where you compete with each other.
Well, wait, hold on. See, I heard you say multiplayer twice, and I thought you were referring to another game. You're saying Shadow of War has a multiplayer mode?
It's not multiplayer. It's in the sense where you get your army, and then you can play this online mode where you can try and fight other people's armies that they've built as part of a siege mode.
Is it like the way I'm imagining it is like, you know how in an Assassin's Creed game you can send out like your
or Injustice. Injustice, you have your base and you can have them fight and you're not involved.
That's
Injustice 2 has that. Have you ever done that part?
Like,
What do you get if you?
From what I understand, you get just as like a smaller amount, but you get almost like in Injustice, you get the actual items that are in the game that you would normally get playing it. So you'll get experience.
So that does disrupt actual game balance. Okay.
It could.
And that's what I meant about when this microtransactions system was first announced. We didn't know whether there was some sort of multiplayer mode. Then that mode was announced. It's called like Siege Combat or something like that, right? And that's where the pay-to-win aspect comes into it, right? But then my question is like, well, let's say if you had that with Borderlands 3, where you could buy golden keys and get really, really good items or really good guns, that's still single player. There's not really a competitive multiplayer aspect to it, so no one's really being unfairly treated. But would that affect the fun and enjoyment of Borderlands 3? I don't know, but it's such a murky gray area that opinions can go either way.
Every game I've ever got a code for randomly, like a cheat code, God code, I've lost interest in so quickly because I'm so overpowered. I would think with Borderlands, if I got like a fucking purple nuke gun after a very small amount of time, I'd probably just be like,
No, but Borderlands is different. This is the key with Borderlands, yeah. When you get a golden key, it's not like it gives you a level 50 gun when you're a level 3. It gives you a gun level that's commensurate with your actual character level.
To me, that's... I think you were crazy to buy them in the first place. But if it was just doing that, I would probably.
I'd personally give
grind
just as much shit for this as I would if Borderlands were to start selling golden keys. Just because in Borderlands, it's like one thing that's very annoying for gamers is when you have a product that is given for free, you have a working system in place, and you disrupt it to put a price tag on it. I wouldn't be a fan of that. I understand how it makes sense because it's like, hey, you can buy keys and get the fucking best loot, or not the best loot, but some of the best loot. Because like Lone said,
you have a chance to get the best loot.
Yeah, you'll get it for your level, and it'll be a high rating
purple
gun in the way. Yeah, it'll be purple or up, which is awesome. Right. But to pay for it, no. I think in a way that could disrupt some balance in Borderlands because you can breeze through the fucking levels that normally can be pretty intense gunfights,
challenging,
yeah.
And this is the key, I think. If it was introduced, I think my opinion was, I completely agree with you, Matty. It was so much fun going to Gearbox's Twitter and Facebook and waiting for them to tweet out a bunch of golden keys that were limited use or that were limited time.
It
was so much fun.
Yeah, there's keys out. It's like, all right, let's hop on now.
Dude, there were times where I was at university and my friend would message me like, I'm not home. Fucking go home and claim these keys. I'm like, all right, I'll drive home. It was so much fun. And you're right. If you could just buy golden keys outright, it would I think it would lessen not the rarity, but I guess the exclusiveness or like this, just the pure enjoyment of getting a purple gun.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, all right, in a weird way, and it's so simple, really. You sign up, you make an account, you sign in on the game itself, and then from there you can redeem codes at the menu, and then you have the golden keys. But it's just rewarding in a real way. It's like, I went that extra mile. I'm involved in this community. I know everyone else is doing this. I'm sure Gearbox is looking at the numbers for that day, hit a spike because people are going out and getting that loot. I just think it's really I think it's a really cool system. I don't know why they disrupted it. And I know we're speaking hypothetically.
We are speaking hypothetically.
But it's just, I wouldn't be surprised if they put a price tag on it. I wouldn't be.
And that's why I'm just mentioning it, because I think there's a chance that it could happen, and I'm wondering if it could happen in a way that pleases everyone, which is just not possible.
Well, that's the thing. Is and I don't mean to keep reiterating my video to those who have watched it on the channel already, but here's the thing: is yes, we have to blame the developers and publishers to some extent, but we do also have to consider that all right, we don't want to see this in Shadow of War. Don't spend a dime
with
on
your
it.
wallets.
Yeah, do not fucking support these actions, because then when the next developer comes in and looks at the data for Shadow of War, if they see that their market, despite that shitty reception, made them a lot of money, then what's going to stop them from saying, well, they
but you know what the problem with that is?
We do.
The problem with that is that they're making most of their money from microtransactions from like 5% of players, the whales. They have a term, they're called whales, right? And that's how mobile games make most of their money. You'll have 95% of players spend no or very limited amounts of money in a video game, and you'll have that very small 5% that spend tons of money, and that's where they make it, and that's the small market that they're trying to appeal to.
Yeah, and not to be, I mean, I don't want to be argumentative, but when you pay for a game, your $60 doesn't have a specialized note that says I bought it because I like this one particular thing. And when you don't buy a game, the developer has no fucking clue why you didn't buy it. And what it's called, there's a lot of different terms, but basically it's a void sale. They have no clue why you didn't. It could be that you don't like shooters, not that you don't like shooters with this particular mechanic. And so social campaigns, Twitter, those work much better. And when you talk to a developer, they'll tell you it's like social media matters. And, they can tell somebody's just being a troll. But if multiple people are like, hey, there is a distinct broken thing in this particular game, that will work far more. And I'm not saying you should go buy it. I'm saying don't think you're sending a message to the developer by not buying it, because that is actually many people, many companies know how to work around that. And they'll be like, okay, because they're not stupid. If they're like, okay, you're not going to buy it for this, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set you up and make it not appear like there's an issue. And then suddenly you've got GTA Online, which is so fucked up now that it is beyond fucked up. Like GTA Online started in one way, and I don't believe they did not know what they were planning and where they were going to be today. Which is
they planned
grind that is impossible. It is impossible to get the items that they give you without buying shark cards.
I remember
unacceptable.
When I played GTA Online, it was several months after launch. I was just getting my ass kicked, my ass handed to me on a platter, because I just didn't have the guns or anything to compete. Right. So, and then I asked my friends, well, how'd you get that gun? Well, some people said they played, but I believe that there's a way you can just buy shit outright.
I guess what I'm saying is social and money. Do both.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, the best way, if you are against this practice, but you still want to play the game, the best way to actually send a message is not by boycotting the game entirely. It's by buying the game, but not engaging in those features. Because if they have all these players bought the game, but only 99% of players don't engage in the microtransactions, that's a strong message.
Buy it used, rent,
or buy it used, or wait several months. I mean, there are other ways, but
Yeah, but that's the thing, is it's so many gray areas, right? Like I do believe firmly that like GTA is an amazing game, but there's companies out there that know. They're like, okay, these things aren't going to be tasteful to gamers, so what we're going to do is pretend they're not there. And then later they get interjected, and you bought the game already. I mean, they're not. They know every plan we think works. Like they have a plan to work around, and it's like the best way is to socially put together a positive noise.
See it, not in their wallets, but
do you know why too? Because even negative videos, as long as you're constructed right, show a positive desire to play your title. Like,
no, of course.
Why am I doing a GTA bitch video? Because I actually want to play GTA, but this and this are the issues.
Yeah,
so, absolutely. Good talk there, and now we will wrap it up with a question from a viewer. His name is, let me grab it real quick, Chris D Master 13, and he asked us to talk about ourselves and how we started YouTube. So
just general advice,
just general advice, how we got the ball rolling here. So,
I'm interested to hear from you guys first, because you obviously have bigger channels than me. So
go for it, Matty. Let's hear the genesis of Matty.
It's a long story. It really is, because it's a span of 3 channels.
Wait, what? Oh, see, I don't know this.
So all right. So I apologize in advance to all the viewers, because I'm about to talk for a decent amount of time. All right. So I started when I was 13. I am now 22. I started on a channel. It was called Beatles Boy. I don't remember the numbers afterwards. No longer exists. My friend and I made it in one night, and he got a new webcam on his Mac laptop, and we were like, let's make some videos. And I fell in love with it. He was like, all right, that was fun for a night. And I asked him the next day, I was like, let's do more. He was like, I don't really want to. It's not that fun. I was like, well, I want to. So I kept with it. I asked my mom and my dad for a camcorder. They got it for me. And then I remember I was watching the Angry Video Game Nerd. I found out there was like online content for video games. I was like, I love what he's doing. I love reviewing game. I love the idea of reviewing games rather. And he's really funny, and I want to make people laugh, but still inform them. I was like, I really want to try this. So I remember 7th grade. Sorry, I set up like I was home alone, so I set up like a little table and then like stacked a bunch of books, put the camcorder on top of the books. And what's funny is the camcorder had one of those oh wow, what the hell? One of those menus came
Sorry,
up.
I was
No, you're
changing
fine.
the battery.
I was confused. It had one of those side screens, but it didn't have a stand or anything, so it would just tip over. So I had to like slide books underneath it. And so I played Cruis'n USA, and it was so stupid because I loved the game, but I was like, I just want to do an angry review. So I went ahead and like, bitched up a storm about a game I really liked, fake as shit, but I still was really happy with it because I thought it was funny. I was like, look at this car, it looks like it's straight out of Hot Wheels, and this is kind of sad. It actually upsets me. I've never really been bullied growing up. Very fortunate. I've always had a good set of friends who've always stood up for me and stuff. But I remember, a couple of days later, I walked into middle school, and where was I going? I was going to my art class. Yeah, I remember walking in, and typical really popular kids were sitting there, and they were just like quoting my video, like the whole fucking class.
That's cool.
Just straight fucking butchering me the whole time. No, not in like a supportive way. Like they were they were making fun of me. Yeah, and like laughing at me the whole time, and I'm just kind of sitting there like thinking, why did I put myself out there? Why did I do this? Is this humiliating? Like, people were talking about it. I was just like, I felt awful. I really hated it. And I remember kind of just dropping out of the YouTube scene with myself talking, and instead would just make videos of the game itself. So I do an EA Skate Bales montage I did on a channel called Game X Review X. I don't remember what the fuck the rest of it was called. Once again, random numbers. But yeah, I did that, and that video did decently well. Like 20K views, which I was like, oh fuck, awesome. But then after that, I wanted to restart and like really make an actual channel, because I never stayed dedicated to it. It was like these are in the span of a couple of years of owning this camera, I've made 2 videos. So then 8th grade rolls around. This is where I kind of started to get a little bit of a stride of confidence, I guess, because this is the second time and only other time in my life I had actually been bullied. Like I remember I literally sat at the wrong lunch table. And once again, in typical popular kids, this was during that time the episode, and it's kind of funny looking back on it, but it was the time this episode of South Park aired about gingers and stuff. I had no idea what the fuck anyone was talking about, bro. And like everyone's calling me a ginger. I'm like not hysterical, like crying, but I'm just like freaked out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like I was just really confused, and just seeing once again everyone laughing at me, I was like really upset, and I kind of like shut in for a while. Like I remember like sitting in the laundry room in my basement just like really upset while my friends were over, just because I was humiliated. But like I said, I'm really fortunate to have really supportive friends who got me through that, stood up for me, and I was fine after that. And with that newfound confidence, because of my friends, and because I was able to overcome it myself and stand up for myself, I made my first actual YouTube channel, which was Glitcher27, which now, for those who are wondering, now you know what G27 stands for in my Twitter handle. And I'll get more about the rest of that handle in a second. But yeah, Glitcher27, I built it with myself and those same friends, and we were like, we were 8th grade, so 13 years old. It was during like the Call of Duty phase. And we were like, let's just make Call of Duty glitching videos. So that's what we did. We made spots, tips, tricks, and all that stuff. And it was during a time where like having a high definition camera pointed at the TV was considered good quality. And talking into literally this fucking pencil microphone. I used it for so long. Such a shitty microphone. But you know, my dad gave it to me, so I have really fond memories of it. I have it in my memory box. And I after that we grew the channel together to about 10,000 subs. And here's a bit of a victory story is you know, I started like upgrading my stuff like from Dazzle capture card to HD PVR, and doing like montages, working on my editing. This is when like gameplay commentary, which is so common nowadays. Of course, every video has, you know, the voices behind it. But back then, around that time, it was just a new thing. The Modern Warfare 2, COD 4 kind of era of like gameplay commentaries where you could say like MW2 gameplay on Rust 50 kill game, and you'd get tons of views. Like people just cared about that. You know, it was so new that people just cared about your loadout, what you were doing to succeed, all that shit. And there are videos like that, but there's so much more to it now. But anyway, yeah, so like we grew the channel a lot through just making glitching videos and spot videos constantly. And I remember there were two kids in that same group of kids who from 7th grade in my art class were making fun of me for my initial video. And I remember them coming to me while I was in my computer class. In fact, they were sitting next to me during it, and like I'd gotten over it. Like I said, I kind of just powered through. I was like, whatever, they're not shit. So I remember they both stopped me. No problem. They both stopped me and were like, okay, like, how did you do it? I'm like, do what? And they're like, you know, I heard you make good montages and stuff. I was like, it's really
sweet.
Yeah, I was like we've seen your stuff. It's really good now. Not now. I don't think they said now, but they were like, it's really good.
Yeah,
and we like it. And I was just like, and they're like, would you want to edit ours? And I'm like, kind of. It was nowadays. I'm not that spiteful. I wouldn't do something like this. But then I was kind of like, I was feeling myself. I was just like, I'm all right. Sorry, you know, because in my head I was like, fuck you guys. Nowadays, I don't think I would openly be like, yeah, let me do it for you. But I'd be like, look, you know, I'd love to, but I don't really have time to. I'd still politely decline, but I was more of a dick about it back then. Just because it kind of felt good to see my work reward me in a more personal way rather than, you know, for example, receiving your first ever AdSense check. So then the closure of that channel happened around the time of, for some reason, I thought it was a good idea when Derek Jeter got his, I think, 2000th hit. I'm not even a fucking Yankee fan. And I recorded it and I posted it. And then the Yes Network like flagged my channel down. And I got a copyright strike. And then Google's like, we can't send you AdSense checks. So I'm like, well, fuck, I want to earn money off of this too. I want this to be my job. I love it. So I was like, I'll make a new channel. That's where G27 status comes from. I don't know what the fuck status stands for, but that's now, for those wondering what my Twitter handle means, it's Glitcher27, and status. People are always like, well, for branding, Matty, branding, why don't you change it? I don't give a fuck about branding. That's a core part of what got me to where I am today, so I keep it as G27 status. And so that channel only got to about 1,000 subs, still in that Call of Duty phase. Competitive, though. I've talked about that briefly on the channel. There's not much to go on there. Just played Call of Duty competitively from Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 1, I want to say. And I enjoyed it a lot. I was pretty good. You know, we had some good teams and stuff. Never earned money from that. We'll earn some money from some tournaments, but not from the actual channel itself. And then I finally woke up. I was like, wow, I'm kind of tired of playing Call of Duty so much. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make another new channel. And I remember making a video and people were like, why the fuck would you delete all this stuff? And I deleted all the videos for some reason. It would be cool to go back and see what content I had made back then and what I think about it now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, just completely gone. But after that I was like, I made the announcement video saying, all right, I'm moving on to the last channel. In fact, actually, you can find G27 status on YouTube, and you can find my announcement video to come sub to the channel that you're watching this video on right now. And
can I like it now so people see it?
Go for it. I don't care. I really don't care. But and so I after that I moved on. I remember restarting, and this was kind of like my last straw. I was like, okay, if I don't get it here, I'm gonna just continue playing video games as a hobby and just move on to something else. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really have a plan because I was young. So I remember I recorded a full Fear 3 Let's Play with Noah, former host on the show, and we uploaded it on the whole channel, so you guys can go look that up if you're really curious to see a really shitty Let's Play. It's funny, but it's so bad. You can see me with braces and really poofy hair. So yeah, if you want to see me at my fucking roughest, then by all means. But I remember around a couple months into the channel's life, it was like October. I think it was actually not even a couple months. I really think it was a month, and it just, things weren't growing. It wasn't like how my other 2 channels where I got lucky and, got some traction. I remember I was just like, I remember texting Noah. I was like, I think I'm going to kind of just can it, He's like, yeah, that might be the right choice. It's not really working out and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, you're right. And then Skyrim came out, and that did really well on my channel, and I fucking loved Skyrim. I still love Skyrim, although it's milked to death now. I'm not going to let that plague my view of the initial title and how special that game was to me and how it initially grew my channel. And from there, it's kind of history. I slow crawl to 30K with like pre-Fallout 4 stuff. Then Fallout 4 was slowly gaining traction, and that led me to about 100K around the announcement week of the game. And then I think most of my viewers have been around since then, where I carried on with Fallout 4, burned myself out on it, fucked up a couple of times, learned from my mistakes. I wouldn't even say fucked up, but I ran myself into the ground with Fallout 4 because I just wouldn't let it go. Then I finally let it go and kind of saw like a new light where I was like, oh shit, like I'm realizing my true potential now and what I can really do with myself and my channel and my content. So like I said, that was a long fucking story. I apologize, but that's my whole story on YouTube. Advice for starting YouTubers is if you're gonna take away one thing from my story, it's do it for you, and always make sure that your heart's in it. That's why for me sometimes I'd get particularly bothered if someone would call me clickbait or someone said I'm doing this for the money, because if anything, my story shows that I've never fucking done that for one bit. Like, yeah, I wanted the money because I wanted it to be my job because I loved it so much. But, like Lone says, you can't live off smiles. So other than that, though, it would really be lovely if we could. Yeah, it would be lovely. I'd like to hear one of your stories, though. My jaw is tired.
Go for it, Lone.
Karak? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Because I don't know anything about Lone, and you can't say a lot, right? It's going to be a weird story.
It's going to be a weird story.
Yeah,
okay, well, I'll say this. I started... So I've only had one channel. I started the channel, I think I was in like my second last year of university, and I was studying law at the time and also finance, and it was something that I just like to do on the side. It's something that I've always wanted to do. Similar to Matty, I wanted to start a channel with my friend, and I was like, yeah, we should do videos together, blah, 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 and he was just never into it. So I was like, all right, I'll do it myself, and that's how that started. I think the first videos that I did were purely Fallout. Like, for so many years, I was purely Fallout. I think the very first video I did was about, I think it was at the time where Fallout 4 was being rumored. So I was like, all right, would it be cool to have co-op in Fallout 4? That was my first video. But anyways.
Really? That's funny.
Yeah, it was insane. And it just went from there. And pretty much predominantly at the start, it was just Fallout. And that's where I had most of my growth. I don't remember the specific story. I think we just tweeted each other, Matty. But that's how Matty and I started. Like, we met and then we collabed and started a podcast and stuff.
I messaged you, yeah.
Yeah, I think you just messaged me. Because pretty much at the time it was us two and maybe a few others that were just doing Fallout 4 news and Fallout updates.
Yep.
Yeah, because there was a lot of just rumor and hoaxes at the time, so we were covering that shit pretty much daily. Yeah, I was actually working in a government department at the time, and I was being naughty, and like when I'm at work, meant to be working, I'm like looking at forums and seeing what people are saying about the Survivor 2299 and all that shit. And then we actually started getting some concrete info about the game, and then that's when I, really started to grow. And also thanks in part to Matty as well, because he kept shouting me out. No, you kept shouting me out, and then I just grew. And yeah, like I think from that point on, the rest is pretty much history in terms of the channel. I got to a point where it was after Fallout 4, videos was doing very well. And then I reached that point where people started losing interest in the game, and my Fallout 4 videos started to go downhill. I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? And then I tried to experiment, mix up with different videos. I was tied to this notion that I need to get 10% of my subs to watch my videos, otherwise they're always doing shit. And every time I tried to do a different game in terms of a video, it would like just not meet my expectations. So I tried to stick for Fallout as long as I can. It didn't work. Tried to mix it up to other stuff. I still had this unrealistic expectations as to what the number of views that I should get, because it was so high during the peak of Fallout 4, and then it just went so fucking low.
Oh, right.
Then I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the videos that I'm doing. And for a while, for 3 months, you know, all I did was Let's Plays. I remember I got to that stage where I was like, my channel's dying. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm just doing Let's Plays because that's all I want to do. And I stuck to it for like 3 solid months. I didn't do one gaming news video.
Which I don't mean to interrupt your story, but I got to chime in and just say that's harder than it sounds, because sticking to just a Let's Play schedule, that's...
It was crazy
to do one Let's Play consistently.
And I was doing like 3 episodes, like 3 different Let's Play series a week. But then I got to the stage where I was like, well, this is just not sustainable. Like, no one's watching my shit, pretty much. And then I started to do news again. Then I completely let go of Let's Plays. And then now, if you look at my channel, my most successful videos are Borderlands videos, and Fallout is second. So in terms of me turning my channel around and covering a bunch of different stuff, I think I've done pretty good at that. But it also required me to let go of that notion that each video needs to get 5,000 views for it to be successful, because that's just bullshit.
That's
you know, and like I'll have like, typically if I do a video that's not Fallout or Borderlands, it'll hit 1,000 views at least, and I'm like, that's cool. You know, 1,000 is a nice little number. So now I'm pretty much at the stage where I am now, where I just do news, discussions, and speculations. The one piece of advice, because it's happened to me twice now, in terms of growing a YouTube channel, it would be like, I always say that there are things that are just a must. Like, you need to have high quality videos, interesting thumbnails, good titles, good SEO, all that stuff. Like, you need to do that, otherwise you're going to have a low chance to succeed. But there's also something extra that you need to do as well, and that would, you know, depending upon what YouTuber you are, that opinion might differ between YouTuber and YouTuber. But for me, it's trying to tap into a market where, you know, not anyone's really making those kinds of videos, but people would watch them, and people really want to watch them. So at the time with Fallout 4, it was Matty and I making Fallout 4 news videos, because there was nothing. There was nothing on the internet. Yeah, like, it was pretty much us for a while, and there were a few others. But
and what's funny,
you know,
what's really funny, is Borderlands 3's like shaping out to be the same shit.
That's like, what I was saying.
What do you mean?
Like,
yeah,
you know, Borderlands 3, for me right now, that's probably the most consistently best performing. I mean, don't get me wrong, if Bethesda does something pretty big, that's usually the most popular video on my channel. But and I don't say that like I take it for granted. Just usually that's how it ends up. But like, Borderlands is you know, Mass Effect and BioWare have really stuck to my channel, because I think people know I'm really passionate about BioWare. But like, Borderlands 3, it's crazy to watch, because what's happening is it's a slow crawl. Like, Lone, the dual comm we did for that we intentionally left Karak out of. He's got straight face.
No, I was sitting there going, what? Oh yeah, you
bitch.
You made me sit in your podcast and talk about it, and then you guys got to go think about it. Whatever.
But what I was saying was, like, you know, that initial video, 9K views, and it's crawling its way up to 30 now, you know, and it's these, you can see the growing interest in it on both our ends. So,
but this is what I mean.
It's the same thing with
like
Fallout 4.
Our initial growth of Fallout 4 was making videos that people really wanted to watch, but no one was doing. And that's why we grew.
Absolutely.
And again, the exact same thing is happening with Borderlands 3. There's not that many channels out there, aside from you, myself, Killer 6. There's someone else.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, but
Puma, whatever his YouTube channel is. It was like Morning After Kill or something. So there's like a handful of us that do Borderlands 3 videos and news updates. But because people really want that shit, and only a handful of us are doing it, we're all growing as a result. Like, my Borderlands 3 video yesterday got 8,000 views already. Yeah. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane shit for a channel my size. But that's the one advice that I would give. Try to find a video idea. Has to be creative, you know, original stuff and stuff like that. But that people are really wanting to watch right now, but no one's catering to that market.
Also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to steal your thunder here. Sorry, I feel bad. Just I also want to just pitch in and just say, like, it's got to be a series you fucking like a lot or you care about. Because
Absolutely.
that's the thing is people always say, like, put your heart into it, but whoa, they make money out of it. It's like, I got to that point because I loved Fallout so much, because I loved BioWare so much, because I loved Borderlands so much. It's not because I just saw, numbers. Okay, cool. All right, let's do this. No, it's like I fucking played the shit out of all these franchises. BioShock as well. It's, I talk about the shit I like because that makes work exciting, right? It removes the word work from actual work.
Definitely.
So
that's my advice. Do something that people aren't doing, but people really want to watch, because that's on 2 occasions. That's where I've seen the most growth.
Yeah. And Karak.
Mine is nowhere near as exciting as your guys's.
You're being humble.
No, it's not. I mean, it's like I don't have. I also, because I'm older, like there were no fucking video game channels when I was in high school or whatever to be bullied over. I just created a channel randomly because I remember friends kept saying, like, what game is this game good? Whatever. And so I was like, oh, okay. It seems like enough people are like emailing me or friends of friends who are like, hey, I hear you know about this game or that game. And so I made a channel and I had 215 subscribers, and the fucker got copyrighted by somebody. Got a strike, just like Matty.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and
we
so
both went down.
I was, at that time I was working, and I was getting, I was flying. I was basically traveling around the world setting up call centers for software companies, game testing. There was some stuff in the game industry as well, and I was like, man, 200, this is fucking horrible. Like, I was devastated that those 200 people, who I think almost all 200 are still either patrons or subscribers.
That's
and
awesome.
One of them was like, do you realize I'm number 1? And I was like, what? And I went and looked, and he's fucking, it took me forever to scroll through YouTube's tool.
Yep.
But, and so I was devastated, man. And I was like, I wasn't trying to make money from it. So to me, it was even worse, because I was like, well, they say I can't make money, but if I do better, then I'll still not be able to make money for 6 months. Should we destroy the channel and start a new? And then I was like, yeah, I'll just start a new channel. This is going to suck. I did what Matty did, where it's like, hey, I'm switching. Can you 200 people come to me? Like, I was, man, it fucking sucked. It was depressing, because I was like, man, I really worked hard on that. And through all my life, physically, I've been able, if there's been an issue, like, to handle myself. So there's a weirdness when you can't do anything. And it's fucking horrid, because I want to, like, I'm like, no, I'll punch you in the face. And instead it's like, no, they just copyrighted something. And that it's a horrible feeling. And so I almost didn't do it. And I built the new channel and then sort of sat back. And then luckily, I say this now, well, I said it the day it happened, but I had been wanting to leave my job for about 2 years. It was just becoming way too political. And I'm not, as you guys can tell, I don't have a political bone in my body, and I was hired for that. But then it became political, the business did, and it wasn't working out, and they laid me off. And I was just like, I'm just gonna be known for my works. And so what I did was I just started reviewing. I didn't care about any numbers, like views, because it was all I had. It was either that or go back in. I had unemployment because I live in Oregon, so you get like, what was it, 8 weeks or something. So I had 8 weeks to do reviews and see what would happen. And I had paid for my wife to go through college, so she was like, I'll pay for you now to try YouTube. And that's pretty much what happened. Is I just I've always believed, just be known for your works. So like the drama stuff I don't get involved in. I'm just like, I'll just continually do reviews. Somebody can bitch about this review, but then tomorrow I'll do another review. And that's worked for me. And then Matty and I started talking about KOTOR. So Matty's been sort of the person who keeps, who's always reaching out to people. And then the channel just...
Friends are good people, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. And then the channel just sort of, I don't know. I think I remember somebody on an old forum I was on who was like, dude, your channel's like growing pretty fast. And I was like, oh yeah, it's 40 or 50 a day subscribers. And I was pretty happy. I was pretty ecstatic. And then I remember one day going, man, if I get 100 subscribers a day, and then the next day I did Destiny of all things, and it was like 6,000 subscribers in a day. I was like, holy shit! And one of the developers said, he's like, dude, we're gonna flag your channel. And I was like, a copyright strike? And he's all, no, but you something I said, or I don't even remember what it was, but he's like, YouTube contacted me and they said, here's what they said about my Destiny video. They said, you are too small of a channel to be this successful. You have to have been doing something illegal, like buying views or something. And so the developer said, we just got this alert. We don't think you are, but there's nothing we can do about it. We actually can't, like, the system is set for us to fight you, but we can't fight for you. There's nothing we can do. So luckily YouTube didn't copyright where you lose the 6 months of monetization. They just did the thing where they're like, something suspicious about this video, but I got to keep the subscribers. And so I was like, well, that's weird. But the guy from Destiny, one of the main guys is still there. He was like, I just want you to know that like everybody in our development team, there's like 100 people watched your video all at once. And we're like, this is the best review.
That's crazy.
And I was all, okay, well then that means people in the business, some of them I've known or whatever, just trust what I'm saying. And that's pretty much when I was like, okay, I can probably make a small amount of money from doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's been pretty much the way it's gone. I've got demonetized far more than Matty, but I'm sure he's been demonetized a couple times. I got demonetized this morning.
Just happened to me recently with Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Too.
So that's been the difficulty for my channel. And the thing I would tell people, I just don't really have much of a story other than well, first of all, I play less games than I did before reviewing, which blows people away. They're like, you review a ton of stuff. I'm all, there's fucking like 900 hours in a week to me, technically. And the game is 2 hours. So a review takes just a little bit of time. I play far less games now than when I worked. I get to spend more time in games talking to you guys and stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Business. And that's the thing I would tell everybody. Well, there's a couple. Number one, don't ever fucking post on somebody's YouTube channel and say, hey, check out my channel. Because I'm going to tell you what, not only will you most likely get banned from that channel, but if you were to talk with that YouTuber, there's a good chance that some interaction would happen and you would see subscribers. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I do mean this, just be known for your works. Just do the shit, put your head down and do work, and don't get mired in what everybody else is getting mired in, because it can really fucking slow you down. Maddie and I have talked about this off the side, where he's like, this commenter bothered me, or I'm like, well, this fucking YouTuber said something, and then all of a sudden you're just like, well, wait the fuck. I mean, it's transitory. It really doesn't matter. Like, cancer didn't kill me. A fucking commenter can't kill me. So move on and make your shit. And I guarantee, and I guarantee you'll find because what Alone was saying was like, find a niche, something that maybe other people aren't doing. That is true. But also, I'm doing reviews, which is probably the main thing. Yeah. I think there's also the fact that no matter how cumbersome you are, or how fucking hard you are, or how difficult you are to even understand, somebody's going to like your channel and your subscribe. I've seen some videos where I'm like, somebody thumbs this up. Like, well, why? Yeah. But they've got 2,000 subscribers. And so I just tell people, just keep trying as hard as possible and keep studying. But don't fucking do the stuff that if you see a YouTuber says top 10 things to do, most likely that person's talking out their ass. 10% of your subscribers watching your videos, what Lone said, is the biggest fallacy that everybody's told. Like 10% of your fucking... I was told that. Yeah. And I remember for a while believing it utterly and going, oh, if 10% aren't watching it. And then I was like, wait a minute. The video's
a failure. Yeah.
It makes no fucking sense. Like, that makes no sense. And so I would just say a lot of the advice you get, make sure it fits your stuff, I mean... Because there's a group out there who likes everything. I mean, not to be rude. Come on, guys. Like I've got some friends who do channels, and I'm like, your stuff does really well for the craziest shit I've ever seen. So I think it's good to have a good attitude, man. Skilled, Maddie, Lone, Bad Seed Tech, Joker, all of the guys that I've like teamed up with, that has been far more successful than any drama. So don't get involved in that. Instead, talk to people and get in groups. Collab mode is exactly like what I'm talking about. Like, get out of the negativity and be like, hey, let's fucking... you're not stealing a view from me. Maddie cannot steal a view from me. Fuck off. Because if he does, it's not a view I want. It's not. And Maddie shouldn't say... If somebody comes to him and is like, I'm just watching Karak, Maddie should say, good for you. If that's your type of attitude. So do like collab mode and get as many people involved as possible. It will fucking
collaborate with
save
a bunch
the
of
channel.
people. It's such a great way to grow, really.
Yeah,
Well, that's
and
the
it'll
thing.
keep you interested and positive.
We've talked about
Yeah.
exactly. Positive is really important, especially because YouTube can be really isolating. But you know, we were talking about this a while ago, Karak. I don't remember which episode it was, but we were saying how it's interesting on YouTube that it's not competition, it's collaboration that grows. You know, you don't want to do better than, you want to work with the person who you just come up at the same level then. You know, it's wonderful. So
I saw an incredibly creepy thing for Maddie and my channel. Incredibly creepy. I swear to shit, my numbers for subscribers got so close to his and then slowed down. It was the weirdest thing where it was like he was at 280 and he's like, dude, you're going to get to 300 before me. And I'm like, no, I won't. And we got to 300 within like 4 days of each other. But it was right when I started talking to Maddie where people were like, oh, I'll subscribe to Karak. I cannot tell you where I would be if like I hadn't collabed with all the people. And I don't mean collab in the, we have to do a video together, but I mean, understanding what it's like and going like, okay, I'm going to help, you know, Maddie's having a hard time. Let's talk to him, because guess what? If you help a YouTuber or if they help you, it may make you make a video one day prior to what you were going to do because you were burned out. And that's happened to me where I'm like, fuck. But if somebody talks to me and like, it's okay, man, continue on. And then you're like, okay, I'll do it tonight. That's one more day. It's a little bit faster day to getting out there, and it's a video being made a little bit quicker. And it fucking matters. That shit stacks up so fast. So, yeah, collaboration is huge, man. In all ways, even behind the scenes.
And not just for the numbers, folks.
That's what I said. Even behind the scenes stuff.
Gotta like the person.
Fucking using
like
all of you.
Like we highlighted in the beginning. You gotta like the fucking people you're with.
I did have one or two people that'll do the thing where they're like, "Hey, I love your stuff," and you sort of start talking to them. You're like, I think it's
like
more.
Every email, hey, Maddie, we are big fans of your content and think this promotion would fit you well. I'm like,
dude. we listen to this. I could read you an email that basically says, we watch all your content. We'd like to sponsor you. And I'm like, in the first 7 seconds, I say I don't do any sponsor. What the fuck? You don't like me. And content. Or you'll watch and you can see that there's a space where your name should be because it's auto text filled in. And you're like, you bitch. You know.
Or the text is, I'm sorry, it's like, hi, and then in fucking like Verdana, 8 size font, Maddie. And then the rest is like fucking Times New Roman 12. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that was really fucking hand typed. The guy just decided to shrink it down. It's like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah, it's terrible stuff, man. I mean, it's really, really odd. But yeah, be positive, work together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it.
All right, that was excellent. That was a great fucking episode. So thank you guys for joining us this far.
Oh, welcome.
The hashtag will be something about positivity.
I don't know. Hashtag collaborate.
There you go. Yeah,
works.
That's a good one. Hashtag collaborate if you got to this point in the podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this deep. Karak, once again, thank you for that awesome piece of art. That was a good surprise. That was fucking...
Yeah, it'll be
so
awesome.
Dope.
I should have hung it up while we were doing the pod. I didn't even think about it.
That was really cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
You guys will like it when you see it, man. It's like up close. When I talked to him, I'm like, can you do really high resolution? He's like, I'll do like 1200 DPI. And I'm like, whoa, that's way higher than I thought. And then he sent it to me and it's like 55 megabytes. I'm like, that's a pretty big fucking file. And I zoomed in and I'm like, oh shit, this is awesome. Yeah, like he did a really good. I'll make sure to put, I'll give Maddie the link for that guy.
Go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
man.
sweet.
But, all right, that'll wrap up episode 120, a real special one, I got to say. So, any final closing words?
No, thank you for everyone.
Yeah, enjoy your weekends.
All right, cool. Take care, guys.
Peace out.